The hero of this story, Jin Jungdo, was just another unlucky hunter, stuck with useless skills and no future. But everything changed when he gained a unique ability to draw cards revealing future events and hidden truths of the present. But his powers are not limited to just info. He can also get the powers of legendary heroes if he is lucky enough to get the right card. Now, armed with this power, he must gamble his way to the top, turning fate itself into his strongest weapon. Let's rewind to where it all began. The Change is a mysterious game from the future, with a realistic tactile sense and exciting battles. It transformed the world by bringing dungeons filled with monsters into the real world. Jin Jungdo, a pro gamer, is someone who always dreams of being a hero, like the mana user who fights in these dungeons, and is devastated to learn that his own abilities are just worthless. But when all his hopes are gone, the real universe grants him a set of skills that allow him to complete his dream to be a hero like those mana users. In the game, the system notifies Jin Jungdo about the dungeon break imminent and to defeat all the monsters that cross over. By doing that, he will be rewarded by the real universe upon success. Timing for doing this is 101 hours and 27 minutes. All of a sudden, huge amounts of monsters start appearing out of nowhere with their deadly structure and weapons. The monsters let out roars, shaking the ground of the dungeon, while Jin Jungdo stands there with his weapon and Liu Shan. Liu Shan notices that the monsters look more dangerous than the usual noble ones, though Jin Jungdo tells him not to worry. Now, the game notifies Jin and questions Jin Jungdo about using the combined draw as Jin agrees the blessing of the saintless luck gets detected. Jin smirks as the blessing of the saintless and Liu Shan's strong luck is an epic combination for him. The mana surges from his weapon and the energy around him feels much stronger than before. Light is striking from Jin's weapon, and he screams to make way for Zhang Yaiden. Suddenly, the monsters started running towards him, but as he screamed, the lion's roar activated. 30% opponent's attack power. The system informs him for receiving aggro from all the affected opponents. By using the spinning tiger chariot strike skill with his sword, Jin slices all the monsters who come in his way in half. As Jin continues fighting, a new ally suddenly appears, Zhang Fei, Yide, a warrior of incredible strength, and Zhang Fei is at level 99. Jin uses all his skills, like sword mastery, hand-to-hand combat, enemy to all, spear mastery, mixed martial arts, etc., to kill those monsters. But suddenly one of the monsters comes from behind and attacks Jin on his head. However, his instincts kick in, and with a final wave of strength, he swings his sword and slices the monster's head in half. The battle is finally over. The dungeon is silent, though Jin's heavy breathing can be heard as pants after putting up a tough fight. He is hurt too because of the last monster. It hurts like hell. But he somehow achieved the victory. In this game, heroes of the past inform the future and even hide items in this mind-blowing game of luck that could overturn all the classes. However, Jin is ready no matter how the game unfolds. Other kids are playing outdoor games, while Jin Jungdo always preferred reading comics or novels. The main characters inside those stories were his heroes. He looked up to them and dreamed of becoming like them. One day, he stumbled upon a video game and got hooked on it. He played that game almost every time, and later on he found out he had a knack for playing it. So he turned pro, got pretty good scores too, and won the title of Jin Judo Forever Second Place. However, he couldn't become the main character no matter how hard he tried. But then one day, on February 22nd, 2022, the change happened. Reality became more like a game than a video game. Dungeons started popping up all over the city, from which hordes after hordes of monsters, as if in response to this dangerous phenomenon, people who could wield swords or use magic appeared. They were the mana users. All of them suddenly became the center of attention, surpassing any sports star or celebrity. People used to go out and see their interviews screening on the digital billboard. They were just like the main characters Jin Jungdo always dreamed of becoming. After seeing the mana users getting all the attention, Jin decided to become a mana user. 8 years later, Jin's dreams did not seem to turn into reality, and now he has a drinking habit, as it was a dream that never came to be. He has test results from the National Association of Mana Users showing the results, including his talents, communication, game, and patience, though they are not even remotely helpful in battle. Jin angrily bangs his head on the front door of his apartment and cries as he finds all those things on that paper worthless. He wonders what he has truly gained in return for 10 years of hard work and efforts, though he tries to calm himself down and tells himself that he was never meant to be the main character. Jin then enters his apartment and plans to sleep all day as there is no work for him tomorrow. Instantly, he freaks out when he notices someone inside his home welcoming him inside and telling him that she has been waiting for him. Jin leaves the apartment thinking that maybe he has entered the wrong place, but suddenly realizes it is his own place and questions her who she is. She introduces herself as Winry Makina, a proxy from the universe. She elaborates that she has come to deliver a gift to him, the person who created the first miracle. Jin does not understand and questions if this is some kind of cult, and wonders if she is here because her talents suck so bad that it is a miracle. Winry assures him that it is not the case at all. As a matter of fact, he is the second person since the creation of the universe to have achieved level 3 of communication, and that is why the universe wishes to present this gift to him, and hopes that he accepts it. Winry Machina extends a firm hand toward him, and a weird kind of light or magic begins to come out from it, a glowing yellow aura. Her eyes are burning red, increasing the intensity of. As the yellow glowing aura increases, she utters the words, "Grant skill." All of a sudden, the whole apartment is consumed in smoke. Jin is very confused, wondering what just happened as the girl also disappeared. The skills, observation, status window, resistance, and comprehensive skill, information draw, were successfully unlocked. Jin's confusion increased, assuming the girl just planted skills in him. The girl's voice informs him that they understand he has a lot of questions, but he has to use his skill, status window, for more information. But after expressing that it was an honor to meet the person who created the first miracle, even her voice disappears. Jin is doubting everything that has happened, blaming it on drinking so much, but then the status window appears in front of him. It has an option for info draw, so Jin clicks on it while his mind is filled with tons of questions. He taps on it because he knows what the other skills are for, but he does not know what this particular thing is. As he taps on it, the info gacha with his tongue hands Jin a golden capsule. It is glowing, and suddenly it pops on its own. The system informs Jin that he has acquired rare information. His eyes widened in shock as he read the message. In the second week of April 2031, the winning numbers for the lottery are 1, 11, 17, 26, 47, 39. Bonus number, 23. While the first information of the day does not consume mana. One day ago, Choi Chulyun, the guildmaster, ordered everyone to pay attention, announcing many guilds, including theirs, have been competing fiercely over high-quality mana stones. However, he thanks Jin Jungdo and his persistent persuasion of Mr. Jung, the seeker and dungeon explorer. He excitedly announces that their guild has landed a contract on a newly found dungeon. All the guild members happily celebrate this news, and gladly ask Jin about how he managed to do this amazing job, and that they heard that Mr. Jung has a temper, and already turned down big offers from a larger guild. On the other hand, Cho Harke, a guild member, taunts Jin that he is still a petty salesman, and he really has it easy as all he needs to do is pour people a few drinks and suck up to them. However, Choi Chulyun stands up for Jin Jungdo and warns Cho Harke to keep his mouth shut. Though Cho Harke does not find anything wrong in it as he risks his life and works his ass off every time he goes into those dungeons, Jin, on the other hand, getting people drunk and feeding them crap is all good, according to him. He adds that all the members encourage him for it, and it is seriously starting to get on his nerves. He then leaves. Moreover, Choi Chulyun apologizes to Jungdo on his behalf, and expresses his anger by saying he would have fired Cho Harke if he wasn't that skilled. Afterwards, Choi Chulyun hands him the incentive he promised to give him if he landed this contract. Finally, he saved up enough, the 300 million one awake fee, that will make him a mana user. Later on, Jin arrives at the Awakener. It's a magic machine that transforms a normal person into a mana user and analyzes what their innate abilities or talents are as a mana user. Suddenly, he notices the guild members and guild master. Although he thought he was coming alone with Seo Yoon, Choi Chulyun energetically tells Jin not to be like this, as today is the day 2 of their guild's members are becoming users. A person just came out of the Awakener, and now it's Seo Yoon's turn. She waves her hand towards Jin, and she addresses him as Jungdo, though it annoys him because he told her to call him Mr. Jun when they are with the guild. As she goes inside, Jungdo notices Cho Harke wondering what he is doing there anyway, and assumes maybe it is because of Seo Yoon, as he has been noticing the kind of looks Harke has been giving Seo Yoon. He then sees the stats of Choi Jae-won, realizing he won't be able to get into a combat squad because he does not have a lot of mana, also has 4 talents, and his main talent is alertness. Jin then overhears a guy and a girl talking, saying that people don't call the Awakener a lottery machine for nothing, because if someone wins, they will get many talents that are suitable for combat. But in any other case, they lose. Even if they level up for the first time and acquire a new skill, since skills are generated according to their talent, those with bad talents get bad skills, which means, if the talents are of no use in a dungeon exploration, that's 300 million one down the drain. Sweat coats Jin Jungdo's head when he overhears these statements. In an instant, the machine opens up, and people are eager to know the results and wonder about her talents. The results show the stats, including 27 mana, a number of talents, 11, and her main talent is Saintess. Everyone goes crazy, as it is rare for even a 3-year veteran user to have 30 mana, but she has 27 mana even though she has just become a user. She also has 11 talents, when the most a Korean user ever got was 13, and her main talent is Saintess. It is the same talent as the user Messiah from France. People claim that the best rookie of all time has appeared. People try to approach her, though Choi Chul-yoon blocks them, stepping in, proudly informing them that she is from his guild and his guild is his family, so people should stay away from her. People ask him since when he cared so much about his guild members, though. Many famous guilds fight among themselves to recruit her. Although she ignored everyone and ran into Jin Youngdo, he congratulated her as she hit a jackpot. Still, Seo Yoon feels unreal, but obviously she has to toughen up and get used to all this attention. Now it's Jin Youngdo's turn. Seo assures him that he is going to have great results as she can feel it. He enters the Awakener, but he finds it pretty normal from inside. There is a crystal ball in front of him, and he needs to place both of his plans on it. It is the Oiden's Eye. It will take 10 minutes for the mana user transformation to occur. He is very excited as he is going to be a mana user, as he is fulfilling his lifelong dream and going to be just like his heroes. However, the results did not come as expected. His mana is 7, the number of talents is 3, and the main talent is communication. The guild members are disappointed, but Harkai smirks as he is happy about it, claiming he already knew it. On the other hand, Jin is devastated, though the system informs him that the Awakener wasn't able to detect any combat-related talents, and they don't recommend joining any combat squad activities. As he comes out, he is looking at the ground. The guild master and the guild members look at him with concern, but when he looks up, he smiles, saying it is pretty common for people to lose this kind of draw and assures them that he is okay. Afterwards, the staff of the Awakener hands them the mana watches and the mana licenses. She informs them that they have their information and will serve as their ID, so they have to keep them on at all times. As they collect it, Seo Yoon asks Jim to head out early and rest today. Jin reassures her that he is fine, and not being able to join the combat squad does not mean it's the end of the world. Later on that night, to numb his feelings, he drinks a lot. It feels like the sky came crashing down on him. He has dreamed of becoming a mana user ever since he quit being a pro gamer, but his dream is destroyed because of a worthless talent. At least that is what he has been thinking up to this moment. Right now he is in utter disbelief as 2023 is next year. He has so many questions about who that girl is and why she gave him this incredible skill, as he thought skills were only given on the first level up or generated by skill stones, which are only found in dungeons. He can't wrap his head around what is happening, but one thing is for sure. He can get information about the future by using this information draw skill. He then plans to find out more, so he taps on the info draw on the status window again, but suddenly that weird creature, basically the info gacha, starts stirring violently. The info gacha informs Jin that 1 mana will be spent for every draw, so Jin agrees. The info gacha reveals weird info like the cat next door is pregnant. The biggest storm the Korean peninsula has seen will hit in 102 years, 30 days, 22 hours, and 17 seconds. Winry is actually a maid from another dimension, and so on. Not one useful draw. Jin knows this is a skill from a game talent and all, but this draw thing sucks big time. After this much draw, he has only 1 mana left now, but then he notices that the changes are applied in real time. Normal users can only check for changes in their stats through their mana watch, which is updated by the Awaker. With this status window skill, he will be able to know how his stats change even when he is raiding a dungeon, so that is a major advantage. Though a user's mana is replenished every 24 hours. While a user with a mana capacity of 100 GWT and 100 mana will only have 7, which means he won't be able to use most of his skills even if he wanted to, let alone draw information, it is a bad deal in every possible way. However, mana capacity is something he can work on, so he plans to be thankful that he has this incredible skill. The info gacha then spills another crystal, and when it pops up, red lighting glows out of it. Jin has acquired super rare information. It informs Jin at 5 p.m. on April 14, 2030, that a dungeon will appear near Guanascan Mountain. The name of the dungeon is Treasure Mole Den. Later on, determined, Jin sets off for the dungeon. The info gacha guides him to the location. He moves forward. The info gacha tells him to make a left turn in 300 meters and then go straight ahead. Jin wonders how much farther he has to go. Pressing forward, Jin arrives at the destination, terminating navigation. He stands there in confusion and checks his phone and sees that the time is just a minute before the exact time. According to the info gacha, the dungeon is supposed to appear in a minute. He holds his breath as he waited. 1 minute later, a dungeon entrance materializes before his eyes. Jin is excited, as who would have thought he'd hit a jackpot on his last draw. Plus, this is not an ordinary dungeon. It is a treasure dungeon. There are only 2 known treasure dungeons in the world. The Treasure Dragon's Den, which was found in England, and the Treasure Panda's bamboo forest, which was found in China. Dungeons usually disappear after they have cleared, so they aren't named at all, but there are some cases where dungeons are named and remembered after their disappearance. The first case is when these dungeons caused catastrophic damage because of a dungeon break. The second case is when a legendary item is found inside the dungeon. However, one prime example is Excalibur, which was discovered in England, or the Green Dragon Crescent Blade, which was found in China. Jin nervously gulps, knowing this is his chance to get as powerful as those used by the world's best mana users. Moreover, there are no monsters inside a treasure dungeon, but the person has to pass a test in order to get a legendary weapon. Since that is the case, he has a chance at getting a treasure too. There might be threats other than monsters, but he bets he will be able to use his observation skill to win. As he puts his hand on the dungeon's entrance, a thought crosses his mind. If a monster is in there, he will be meat dead, though right now he is gambling on his life. But he'd be a fool to fold for a royal flush when he has quad aces. When he enters, he moves forward, but as time passes, he groans as he is there again even though he did not make a single turn. When he notices the walls, he realizes that this must be an illusion of some sort. Either that or this thing's been enchanted with a disorienting spell. While he hates to waste his mana, he uses his observation skill. Hidden information is detected. This stone wall has been enchanted with an ultimate illusion spell. Though it breaks, Jin is shocked when he realizes that he broke an ultimate illusion spell, but that is one of the highest ranking bewitchment spells out there. He can't believe he just broke it with one word. In contrast, he is not really happy about his stats as they are not balanced, and he needs some more mana, though his skill is really something amazing. He then opens the door and decides to just charge forward and get over this. As he opens the door, there are a lot of people there. They are the 7 heavenly kings. They welcome Jin. They murmur to each other that it is the weakest-looking challenger they have ever seen, but he also bypasses an ultimate illusion spell, so they decide to wait and see what he can do. Jin realizes they are dwarves. One of the guys, Jais, praises Jin for having very keen eyes, as he even saw through that illusion, and he found out who they were without even asking. Jin thinks within himself that it is kind of obvious as the name of this dungeon was the Treasure Mole Den, so that must have been referring to the dwarves. Jais congratulates Jin for passing the first test and informs him that his second test is to compete with him, and if he defeats Jais, he will give him his rewards and let him out of there. He adds that Jin does not have to worry, as they will let him go even if he loses, so he does not have to get so nervous too. Jin's confusion is evident on his face because it does not make sense that he does not have to clear the dungeon to leave. Jais notices his confusion and asks the reason for the look of surprise on his face. But before Jin answers, he informs him that the 4 others have already failed the test and left before Jin came and questions him if the word about them has spread in his world already. Jin nervously reveals that he does not think so, at least as far as he knows. Jais thinks that it appears as if those people kept the existence of this dungeon a secret and calls them a bunch of selfish imbeciles. However, Jin asks him if by compete with him, he means sparring like in boxing. All the dwarves burst into laughter, knowing that Jin does not know what he is talking about. They make fun of him, mocking humans for being barbaric, and ask if his people still settle matters with fighting. They mock him, passing comments like his race still needs some evolution to do. On the other hand, Jai stands there very calm and composed and asks Jin to come with him. As they move forward, Jais mentions that the one that came before Jin actually charged at him with his sword, so Jais roughed him up a little, and that got him to behave. He asks Jin if trying to stick a sword into a stranger's heart is the way humans greet people. He even calls humans savages. Jin is annoyed and irritated and wonders who they are calling savages. Though Jais revealed that he sparred with them like they wanted, no one could take more than one blow. Jin nods, thinking within himself that he is a mere savage with only 7 mana. Jais continues that this is the reason they have decided to compete with their rules, and he believes that would be better for him as well. Jin questions him that if they believe humans are so uncivilized, why bother bringing them here? Jais scoffed, confessing that they don't really want to, but it is not up to them, and that he regrets swearing that Gaius. Jin wonders who Gaius is and guesses that maybe he is referring to the Gaius, a sacred pact that grants great power but limits someone's actions, from Celtic mythology. Jin is aware that if someone violates a Gaius, it becomes a dreadful curse that may even kill them. His attention then shifts to the dwarf when he asks him to get in. As he enters, Jais tells him to take a look and informs him that this is the masterpiece that they, the 7 Grandmasters, have invented. A television and a video game console. Jin is shocked. Jais scoffs, asking what is wrong and if this technology is too advanced for him. He then informs him that this is how they are going to compete, and he then asks him to take a seat while it loads. In Jin's thoughts, he thinks that he used to be a professional gamer, but the chances of him winning in a game he has never played before are still too low. Not to mention, this game looks like it was invented by dwarves. He then got through the basic controls with Jin. Jin stands up in shock when he notices Zhang Fei. But when Jis asks him if something is wrong, he chuckles nervously, lying that this just looked familiar. Jais finds it a little fishy, as it is highly unlikely because technology of this level is hard to come by. Only a handful of dimensions have this. Jin's dimension is included in that handful too, but obviously Jais does not know that. Meanwhile, Jais teaches him about the button for attack and guard. Jin already knows it. It is slightly different from the game he knows. The characters look like they are from a fantasy world, and the background design is a bit odd, but this is just like Legends of Legend, the game he devoted his youth to. After the tutorial, Jais asks him for a practice game, but Jin tells him to just get started right away. Jais hums, thinking that maybe he already gave up, but obviously agrees as whatever suits Jin best. He gives him the controller while suggesting to him that humans really need to toughen up, as he has already given up when they haven't even started yet. The game started, Jin smirked, and the talent, game, activated, was 100% all stats during gameplay. As he plays, taunts Jais, saying that it is actually the dwarves who need to toughen up because he used to be a pro gamer who won second place twice in those game tournaments. Embarrassed, Jais narrows his eyes, sweat beading his head. He did not even get to win once. Jin stands up, smirking and asking for the payback, as he can't wait to see what kind of treasure they will give him. Jais requests him to wait and starts convincing him to play 3 more rounds with him at least. However, Jin sighs and tries to make Jais understand that it is no use, as he is going to lose. Jais gets sad, though the other 6 dwarves tell him not to be overly smart as they are next. They call Jais weak and tell Jin not to be cocky just by beating the weakest one. Jin is pissed now as they all said he just needed to beat Jais. He clarifies to them that he does not want to waste his time doing this when it is obvious that there is nothing in it for him, and he demands the treasure they promised. They all get confused and blame each other, though one of the dwarves puts a deal that if he beats the rest of them, they will give him something far better than what they originally intended to give him. Jin gets intrigued to know if there is more treasure, so the dwarf hums and explains that, at first they were just going to give away stuff that had been lying in the storage like what that lizard and furface do in their own dungeons. Jin realizes they are referring to the dragon and pandas in England and China. He realizes that these beings can communicate with each other, even though they belong to different dungeons. Meanwhile, the dwarf continues explaining that if he manages to defeat the rest of them, they, the 7 grandmasters, will forge an item just for him. A few moments later, they all lie there exhausted, defeated by Jin, wondering how such a combination is possible and that they couldn't even land one punch. Jin smirks and teases them, pretending to feel bad for them. He jokes that, as a savage, he has forgotten to be considerate. He agrees to the idea that players should get to enjoy the game, so this time he will just play with 2 fingers. The dwarves plead with him not to harass him anymore. After that, Jais analyzes Jin with their device and asks him what he thought while getting here with such stats and 7 mana, but suddenly he gets in utter disbelief. His expression darkens as he sees something unbelievable. Jin is confused, asking if something is wrong. While Jais tells him to shut up, let him think, and asks Mikhail to come there for a minute, as he can't figure this out by himself. Mikhail denies saying that he is busy and asks him what is so hard about making some calculations. Jiz angrily asks him to get up and see himself so that he will understand himself what he is talking about. He then hands over the device to Mikhail, though Mikhail is annoyed because Jais can't do a simple thing on his own. However, Jais tells him to shut up and take a look at his talents. Mikhail then looks at his talent communication, level 3, wondering if this is really a thing. Jin is confused because AC Vorting to him level 3 is not really high level, so it is not that impressive. Mikhail finds Jin pretty dumb and asks him if his world does not have any information on talent levels, so Jin reveals he did not even know talents had levels before yesterday. He then remembers Winry Machina claiming that he is the 2nd person since the creation of the universe to have achieved level 3 of communication. Mikhail is frustrated, seriously calling humans savages this time. He sighs and explains that he got his talented people and geniuses, so every single one of them would be a level 2, at the very best, but level 3 is on another level. He has a level 3 talent called Sword Mastery. That means he has mastered the very origin of swordsmanship and grasped the essence of the universe around him. It is an original talent that was created in the real universe. In other words, a level 3 talent allows someone to go beyond the very concept of reality. He expresses that he genuinely feels honored to meet him. Jais claims that he would have made him something that could boost his low stats, but doing that may cause catastrophic changes because his talent is a level 3. That's why he brought Mikhail over here. Mikhail can see the future. He is the best when it comes to tricky situations like these. They will find out how he fights in the future to make an item that will best suit Jin. Jin freaks out when he hears that Mikhail can see the future. Mikhail is exhausted as he hasn't done that in a while. He praises Jin's fighting style, which is unique. Afterwards, both Mikhail and Guys scold their working to get themselves in the workshop now. They suggest Jin stay in that room because with his current status, he won't even last a minute before bursting into flames in there. After that, they leave the place and leave Jin wondering what kind of item they are trying to make. Moments later, they enter the room with an item. Jin asks them if they really froze this, or if it is another crummy thing that was lying around in their storage. Jais gets furious, elaborating that if they see into the future, it means they can control time too. Besides, if Jin carries around treasure that is too fancy, it will draw unnecessary attention. He asks him to give it back if he does not like it. Jin mutters that he never said he did not like it and thinks within himself that they are so bad-tempered. He wants to ask them how to use this, but he feels like they are going to get angry if he does. He plans to use his observation to find out. Mikhail suddenly gives him a pouch, saying it is a gift to the first level 3 human he has ever seen. He informs him that he put in some high-quality mana stones in there. He can either sell them or use them. Jin looks at the stone with awe as the quality looks outstanding, and they will definitely sell for a lot of money. Mikhail then tells him to buzz off. Jais tells him to sit in front of him as he sits down on the ground. Jais expresses that it was the best time he had in centuries, and if fate allows it, he hopes to see him again someday. Before Jin could thank him, he punched his head, and he is back to Guanaksan. Jin finds everything surreal, but judging by this armlet on his wrist and aching head, that was not a dream. This is an item made by the technology and power of dwarves. He then plans to have a closer look by his observation skill. The King of All Weapons is a mysterious and powerful item with an unknown rank. One would assume that the greatest weapon must be a sword, but a true King of Weapons should have the best qualities of all weapons combined. This weapon has 3 incredible traits. First, it can transform into any weapon the user imagines, as long as mana is injected into it. Second, it increases all of the user's stats by 10, making them stronger in every way. Lastly, it is completely indestructible, meaning it will never break no matter what happens. Jin finds the boost on all stats great, but he has heard Excalibur or the Green Dragon Crescent Blade can have a monster in one stroke. He'd think a King of Weapons would be more intimidating than that. He wonders what the weapon will change into one the user imagines once injected with mana. Although these traits would suit a user with combat-related talents, he does not have any of those. But then he realizes he has Information Draw. He used Observation twice and used 2 mana, so he has 5 mana left. If he includes the free draw that is given daily, he has 6 draws remaining. The next day, Jin meets Choi Chul-yoon, asking about the other guild members and Seo-yoon. Choi informs him that he did not see her as she came to work yesterday, so she took today off. They both became users, so it would only be fair if he let her take a day off too. Jin agrees with Choi and notices that he sees the squad also is not here. So what are they up to? Choi informs him that he sent them on a vacation to recharge before the big raid. Jin does not understand as they still have 6 days left until the raid, but realizes on his own that he is trying to keep Cho Harke away from him. Jin finds Choi Chol-yoon a considerate person, though he looks scary, as the other guilds would have kicked him out for becoming a useless user. His thoughts are interrupted when Choi asks him if he is going to join the raid this time, because no matter what his talents are, he should level up and get that bonus skill. After all, there are cases where a non-combat user gets a decent combat-related skill that proves useful to the combat squad. Jin excitedly agrees and admits that was the sole reason why he joined a guild in the first place. Suddenly, Choi notices the bracelet and asks where he got it, as it looks like something his grandfather would wear. Jin confusingly laughs and lies that someone gave it to him as a gift. No one would ever imagine that he went and cleared a treasure dungeon. Jin hopes this raid will be a good opportunity to test out the King of All Weapons. Mr. Choi asks Cho Hakre what time it is, but he can't help. So, the boss commands Jin Jungdo to double-check the information Jung has provided with the Analyzer, a magic tool that provides a brief analysis of a dungeon. Jin Jungdo completes the analysis. It's a D-rank examination dungeon with a party size limit of 10, matching the seeker's information. They are a little late, so the leader starts the briefing. He instructs them that, as Jin Jungdo has mentioned, it is a D-rank dungeon, so their main goal is to procure mana stones. He also commands Mr. Jin and Miss Yoon to land the finishing blows since they need to level up as soon as possible. The leader tells Jin Jungdo that his talents aren't as lame as his own. He would stay home if he felt so ashamed of himself. Jin Jungdo retorts that at least he isn't irresponsible like someone who is late to a raid because he can't hold it in. Yoon assumes that Jin Jungdo is trying to get a bonus skill for his first level up and bets that he won't get anything useful. Jungdo dares him to wait and see. Their instructor explains that their squad includes Cho Hakre, Kim Taesik, Lee Jin-soo, Jung Yuna, Yoon So-yoon, and Jin Jungdo, 6 members in total. This seems like a lot for a D-rank dungeon, but he reminds them of their last C-rank dungeon raid. They thought they had too many members, but they ended up losing 2 B-rankers, and only Mr. Cho and 2 C-rank users were left. He emphasizes that they must all prioritize safety, follow his commands, and never let their guard down. The raid begins. A lizardman appears before the leader, who attacks it. The other members think he might be a prick, but they have to admit, that is what an A-rank user is like. Their leader tells Seo-yoon to finish off the lizard man as it is barely alive. He puts Jin Jungdo in charge of gathering and carrying the mana stones, ensuring that not a single one is missed. Seo-yoon interrupts, suggesting that she should take this duty as the youngest guild member, but he refuses. He explains that positioning doesn't matter. The moment they enter a dungeon, they are all equal members of the combat squad. Jin Jungdo agrees that he will make sure to get all the stones. The leader commands them to keep moving at that pace and not fall behind. Seo-yoon is angry because she has taken the first and second final blows, so Jin Jungdo should take the third and fourth, as that is fair. Their leader clarifies that Seo-yoon is misunderstanding. Things don't have to be fair. He mentions that they have the best rookies Korea has seen, with capacities of 27 and 11 talents respectively, while Jin Jungdo is a sad loser, with only 7 manas and 3 talents. He thinks it is obvious which side deserves support for the guild's future. Seo-yoon is angry, saying Mr. Choi would never think that way, but their leader reminds her that he knows that. Mr. Choi wouldn't think that way, but he is the one making the decisions during the raid, and Mr. Choi has made it clear to follow the leader's commands. The other members discuss how they are sick of the leader, as he doesn't move in formation and doesn't teach the newcomers. One of them decides to file an official complaint against him after the raid. Jin Jungdo already knows the leader is a douchebag, but if he has tremendous respect for Mr. Choi and probably knows they are going to file a complaint after the raid, why is he acting this way? Why is he scheming? He has gotten at least 1/10 of the kills Seo-yoon has, but he isn't sure if he should be happy about that or not. Then they enter the boss room. One of the members remarks that the place is called the boss room for a reason. A monster is there, but Cho Hakre quickly defeats it. The other members are worried, thinking they are going to be in trouble. One of them worries about a fight breaking out and suggests giving the boss to Mr. Jin since Seo-yoon has taken all the experience points up to that point. He reminds Cho Hakre that they are there to help them level up, but Seo-yoon got all the experience while Mr. Jin deserves it. Cho Hakre threatens them all, saying they aren't going back, and attacks one of them. Cho Hakre pierces his sword through Kim Tae-sik's body. Tae-sik slumps to the floor. His lifeless son and his Miss Young Yuna gasps in shock. Lee Jinsu curses Hakre, calling him crazy. Suddenly, Hakre leaps towards them, slashing both of their bodies with his dual swords. Blood drips from his swords. Youngdo shields Seo-yoon, protecting her from Hakre. Hakre observes their reaction nonchalantly. He finds it odd that no one is screaming. People usually break down and cry when they see something like this, he adds. Youngdo finally speaks, demanding to know what Hakre is doing, calling him a lunatic. Mana erupts from the dead bodies. Hakre absorbs it all, exclaiming in joy that it's coming to him. He laughs maniacally, saying it feels so good. Youngdo watches, confused. He uses his observation skill and sees that Cho Hakre's skills include corpse plundering. Youngdo grows nervous and angry. He calls Hakre a murder villain, accusing him of killing the 2 missing users from the raid. Hakre confirms it, telling Youngdo he's right but too late. Youngdo will never leave alive, he declares. He admits he hadn't planned to enact his scheme so soon, but seeing Seo-yoon become a user was the last straw. Hakre's eyes burn devilishly. He smiles maniacally, explaining that Seo-yoon has incredible talent. He believes he'll become even stronger if he kills her and absorbs her energy. Youngdo and Seo-yoon listen, scared and anxious. Hakre reveals he's waited for this moment, nearly going insane from holding back. Raising his sword, he tells Youngdo he has nothing personal against him. It was all an act to make Youngdo and the others believe he was just a prick, so he could scheme in peace. Hakre lunges at Youngdo, his sword aimed at him. He tells Youngdo he'll apologize for his behavior with a clean death. Youngdo instantly summons a sword from his bracelet, blocking Hakre's attack. Youngdo strains to push back Hakre's sword. Hakre wonders about Youngdo's sword, then realizes he'd held back, wanting to toy with Youngdo before killing him. He expected his blow to break Youngdo's sword and sever an arm. Electricity crackles from Youngdo's sword. Hakre realizes it's no ordinary weapon. Youngdo understands that Hakre recognizes the power of the king of all weapons. Seo-yoon leaps towards Hakre, kicking his sword hand. Hakre quickly kicks her away, telling her to wait her turn. He'll deal with her after ripping Youngdo apart. Seo-yoon crashes to the floor. Youngdo yells her name in worry. Hakre scoffs, mocking their touching scene. Youngdo rushes to Seo-yoon, asking if she is okay. She groans and tries to stand. Hakre advances, sword in hand, saying, "All right, let's savor the moment." Youngdo thinks frantically. The skill difference is vast. He doubts he can win, but he must get Seo-yoon out alive. Seo-yoon gets to her feet, assuring Youngdo she is okay. Youngdo has an idea. He scans her with his observation skill, noticing she has the absolute shield skill. He tells her to try using mana to create a magic shield. Confused, she asks what he's talking about. He promises to explain later and urges her to hurry. Seo-yoon imagines a shield, raising her hands to her chest. A shield appears. Youngdo is surprised. Hakurei notices the shield, wondering what it is. He asks Seo-yoon, surprised that a rookie who's never been in a raid can use this ability. Laughing, he attacks the shield. Seo-yoon struggles to maintain it. As he unleashes a mana attack, he says it's getting interesting. He'll have to get serious. Youngdo yells at Seo-yoon to hang in there. He turns to the boss, telling her to hold on a little longer. They'll escape once he kills the boss. Hakurei, hearing this, wonders if that's Youngdo's plan. Angrily, he strikes the shield, shattering it. Seo-yoon falls to the ground. Youngdo raises his hand, killing the boss and piercing its body with his sword. Youngdo looks around, confused. Nothing changes. Hakurei laughs mockingly. He admits it was a smart move, trying to end the raid by killing the boss. However, he points out that Youngdo won't be immediately teleported out. Teleportation takes 10 to 30 minutes. He laughs, asking if anyone told Youngdo that. Youngdo, still on the boss's neck, sword embedded, says something Hakurei can't hear. Hakurei asks mockingly if Youngdo is too shocked to speak. Youngdo curses him and triggers him. Guess again. Hakurei's eyes widen. Youngdo looks at his status window. He leveled up to level 2 and gained a new skill, Draw of Fate. He smiles, saying this level up was his objective. The status window asks if he wants to draw, since the first use of Draw of Fate costs no mana. Youngdo chooses yes. The prompt disappears. A bright light surrounds Youngdo. A glowing card appears. Youngdo takes it, confidently saying the tables have turned. Jin Jungdo summons his physical force. Hakurei's eyes widened, shocked. He wonders if Youngdo just created physical force with mana alone. Fear grips him. He must kill Youngdo before he tries anything. Hakurei rushes forward. Youngdo attacks with his powerful weapon, surprising Hakurei. Youngdo himself is shocked by the weapon's true strength. The double crescent halberd. His status window shows his summoned ally is Lu Bu, the Chinese warrior. Youngdo finds it strange. He's never held a spear, yet he instinctively knows the perfect thrusting angle, the correct grip, the ideal swing speed. He swings it swiftly, his body understanding everything. He realizes this is the Draw of Fate's power. Hakurei laughs, mocking Youngdo. He claims this changes nothing. Youngdo is a beginner. He can't overcome the level and talent difference. So, he yells, but Youngdo remains sort of unbothered. He summons his powers. A thunderstorm appears. Hakurei yells, warning him not to kid himself. He's not intimidated. Hakurei uses his pinpoint thrust, confident he'll kill Youngdo. Even S-rank users can't dodge this move, he believes. But at the last moment, Youngdo swings his halberd, blocking the thrust and slicing Hakurei's head in two. Youngdo curses him to rot in hell. He's in disbelief. He defeated Cho Hakurei. Does this mean he's S-rank but does not know it? He easily defeated an A-rank user. Perhaps he has limitations, but his skills are definitely S-rank. Only 9 users in the world possess such high-ranking abilities. He wants to learn more about Draw of Fate, but first he must check on Seo-yoon. He goes to her and tries to wake her. She does not look well. Just as Youngdo wonders when they'll be teleported out, Lu Bu speaks. He affirms Seo-yoon shows early signs of chi paralysis. Overusing her chi took a toll. Youngdo jumps back, startled, and asks who he is. Lu Bu replies that he summoned him, so why is he so surprised? Youngdo realizes he's talking to the legendary Lu Bu. Lu Bu suggests he call him Fengxian. He advises Youngdo to take care of the young woman first, and it is nothing serious, just overuse of chi. He suggests injecting chi into her Mingmen point. Youngdo remembers realizers referring to mana as chi in meetings. As Youngdo injects chi, Seo-yoon wakes. Fengxian asserts it worked, and she will be fine with rest. Youngdo thanks him for saving them. Fengxian adds he should be thanking Youngdo for freeing him from that boring place. His time is up. There's a limit to how long he can stay. It was short, but he enjoyed it. He hopes Youngdo will summon him again. Youngdo says he'd love to, but he needs to draw the right card. Fengxian believes they'll meet soon and vanishes. Youngdo sighs. He wishes he'd been faster. A notification appears. He successfully summoned a supreme being and gained some of its abilities, rewards, and unlocked skills. Back outside, Mr. Choi wonders what's taking so long. The dungeon appears cleared. Youngdo emerges carrying Seo-yoon. A worker asks about the other players, concerned if the dungeon is cleared. Mr. Choi snaps, telling him to get a stretcher. They have a patient. Workers take Seo-yoon to the hospital. Mr. Choi asks Youngdo if he's okay. Youngdo replies he's fine, but he has something to report. Youngdo informs Mr. Choi that Cho Hakurei was a murder villain. He hands over the dungeon camera footage Yuna carried. Mr. Choi watches, his anger rising. He blames himself for bringing Hakurei into the raid just because he was A rank. Youngdo says Hakurei deceived everyone. He suggests Mr. Choi not be so hard on himself. Hakurei had a skill that made him stronger by killing other users. Mr. Choi asks about the deaths from the last raid. Youngdo confirms Hakurei was responsible. After killing, Hakurei simply left the evidence in the dungeon, knowing it wouldn't be retrievable until the dungeon was cleared. Mr. Choi curses. This wouldn't have happened if the mandatory mana user dungeon cam policy hadn't been removed. He asks what happened next. Youngdo hesitates. He trusts Mr. Choi, but revealing he has such a powerful item could put him and others in danger. He apologizes, saying the lizardman warrior they thought they'd killed mutated. Mr. Choi is shocked. Mutation is extremely rare, where a monster uses a random user's skills. It's even more surprising because it rarely happens since the policy change. Even if a D-rank dungeon boss mutated, it couldn't have killed Cho Hakurei so easily, which leaves him confused. Then Mr. Choi trails off. Youngdo confirms the monster acquired Jinsu's invisibility skill. It ambushed Hakurei while he was taunting Jungdo and Seoyun. Hakurei fought back, killing it, but not before receiving a fatal wound. Mr. Choi says Hakurei got what he deserved, killed by one of his victim's skills. He thanks Youngdo and says they'll discuss the rest later. Youngdo should rest. Later, Youngdo checks on Seoyun. Exhausted, he lies on a bench but needs to check his status. He opens his status window. A triangle appears on the Draw of Fate section. He remembers the triangle on the information drawer led to subcategories. He taps it. Photos of mana users he's met appear. Lubu, Fengxian's card, shows 99 mana per summon. Youngdo, with only 10 mana, finds it ridiculously high. He wonders about the three others behind Lubu, Jais and Mikil, at 347 and 361 mana per summon. Normal users couldn't afford them. He wonders why only Jais and Mikhail are there, so what happened to the other dwarves? He realizes they must be people he's met and knows. The true value of this skill is summoning these individuals and using their talents. He should meet low-level famous people to practice. The last person is Winry Makina, at 999 mana per summon. He realizes increasing his mana capacity is his priority. He can increase stats by leveling up or through Draw of Fate, but he lacks mana now. He'll do it tomorrow. He decides to do an information draw. As the pink mist appears, Youngdo yells, "Come to Papa," but no information appears. He falls to the ground in disappointment. At 12 a.m., Youngdo stands in an empty field. It should be safe here. His mana is full. He tries Draw of Fate. He taps the button and a huge number of cards surround him. He picks one. As he summons, something strange happens. Unlike when he summoned Lu Bu, something clearly went wrong. He's stressed about what to do. He realizes he summoned Liu Shan, who led the Shu Kingdom to its demise, known as the Icon of Uselessness. Suddenly, Liu Shan says Youngdo's words are inappropriate and rude. Youngdo asks to confirm if he's Liu Shan. Liu Shan confirms, adding he is the one above all, the Lord of Lords, the second ruler of the Shu dynasty. Seeing Youngdo's disappointment, Liu Shan asks if he is not happy to see him. Liu Shan, sensing Youngdo's disappointment, emphasizes that strength isn't everything. Youngdo, uninterested, checks his phone, wondering when Liu Shan will disappear. Annoyed, Liu Shan tells him to stop whining and appreciate his talents. Youngdo checks his status. Strong luck, level 2. He's unimpressed. Luck seems insignificant. However, Liu Shan's luck is legendary. He survived Cao Cao's army at Changban, became crown prince and king of Shu, and even after ruining his kingdom, lived peacefully in another. Youngdo asks what luck has to do with him. It doesn't kill monsters. Liu Shan sighs, saying Youngdo still doesn't understand. Youngdo asks what he's suggesting, a casino? Suddenly it clicks. He summons Information Draw. It says that it is free today, so he clicks yes, and a golden capsule drops. Overjoyed, Youngdo hugs Liu Shan, suggesting they meet again, and Liu Shan gets nervous. Dungeon raid information appears. Skillstone rewards in 3 months. Youngdo is excited. Any skillstone is worth billions. Liu Shan reminds him he's still there. Youngdo chuckles, asking why he's so nice. Liu Shan says he's grateful Youngdo summoned him. Youngdo wonders if he was resting in heaven. Liu Shan clarifies he's not the real Liu Shan, but a copy based on recorded information. Youngdo is shocked. Draw of Fate loads abilities and personalities, creating living copies. This is incredible. Liu Shan says Youngdo is his creator, a noble one, and thus, he is grateful. Youngdo is still processing this. Liu Shan tells him not to overthink it. This ability is a gift. Enjoy it. Everyone he summons will help him. Youngdo thanks him. Liu Shan's time is up. He departs, saying it was a pleasure. At the Justice Guild, Mr. Choi announces its disbandment. Dungeons are impossible with so few members. Scouting is too expensive, and rumors about recent deaths have ruined their reputation. He apologizes, taking the blame. Later, Mr. Choi asks if Youngdo will continue as a user. Youngdo says yes. Mr. Choi warns him about expecting similar luck. He asks if Youngdo is sure. Youngdo smiles, saying this is the life he wants. Mr. Choi gives him an application for the National Association of Mana Users Academy. The Justice Guild can't help him level up anymore. Seo-yoon will join him after she recovers, though he's unsure if she'll want to continue. Youngdo says she's stubborn and will. Mr. Choi knows they're both reckless. He gives Youngdo a modified mana watch found on Hakurei. Hakurei belonged to Karma, the largest international guild, led by the Pope. They're fanatics. Mr. Choi warns him to be careful. They lost a valuable member. Who knows what they'll do? Youngdo wonders if this is why Mr. Choi disbanded the guild. Mr. Choi tells him to be vigilant. He'll warn Seo-yoon too. Youngdo thanks him. Mr. Choi thanks Youngdo for being part of the Justice Guild and wishes him well. Youngdo thanks him for everything. The next day, information draw has nothing. Liu Shun says luck isn't absolute. Youngdo agrees. He's only level 2. Luck won't always bring good prizes. Liu Shun suggests drawing more allies to increase stats. Youngdo tries again, but fails. Liu Shun is disappointed. The following day, Youngdo draws another ally. Jin Jungdo went to the academy, and he gets his mana watch updated at the Awaker to meet the entrance requirements, which makes him good to go. He thanks the king of all weapons, and at that time he has really high stats despite being a level 2 user. And according to him, it is due to the golden card he drew from the Draw of Fate. At that time, the most recent ally was Bradamante, who was one of Charlemagne's 12 paladins. Suddenly, someone came in front of Jin Jungdo and asked him if he was the one who summoned her. He did not recognize her, and he did not know her until she told him about herself. She introduces herself as Seo-yoon, and makes Jin Jungdo remember the time when she always ran to get the best seats at the game competition he competes in back when he was a professional gamer, and he remembers that time, and he wants them to leave then, but she stops him. Which makes Jin Jungdo stressed out as he thinks she must have noticed that he knew her what her skill is before she updates her mana watch and she might be suspicious of him. He is thinking, what is he going to tell her then? But all she wants to do is to remove the rice grain on his shirt, and then they are good to go. Jin Jungdo thinks that maybe Seo-yoon has realized that he is hiding something from her, and is pretending that she does not find out anything, which makes him realize that sometimes she feels more mature than him. At the National Association of Mana User Academy, or the NAMU Academy, there is a rule that before user can enter the dungeon, they must go through a month of mandatory training, and the users who belong to a guild can get their training at their guilds, and those who are not affiliated with a guild are going to taught by the government, authorized academy. But there are a lot of users who prefer to be trained in guilds, where one-on-one lessons are available, instead of the academy where students are taught together in large groups, and there is another reasons why users don't like the academy is because of the entrance exam. Jin Jungdo did not think that there were going to be that many people at the academy, and according to Seo-yoon, the test is about to start. The instructor, Kim Sung-tae, who has a user rank B, announces that they are going to begin the exam and instructs them all to hit the punching bag beside him as hard as they can, and anything over 30 points is going to be considered as a pass, and calls out Mr. Choi Jae-won to come forward and begin his examination. Mr. Choi felt that this 30 points is a piece of cake for him, and he is going to pass the test in a heartbeat. He punches as hard as he could, but unfortunately the score is 27, which makes him disqualified from the test. He shouts in anger that there must be a fault in the machine, or maybe it is broken, and asks the instructor to give him another chance. The instructor punches the bag, and gets a score of 88 points, and tells Mr. Choi that the machine is completely fine, and it's clear that he is disqualified, and he commands the following applicants to come forward for their turns. The second guy comes, gets 10 points and is disqualified, followed by another one who gets 25 points yet disqualified too. The next one gets a score of 30 points and is passed. Then, it is Seo-yoon's turn. She punches so hard and scores 67 points and is considered a pass. The instructor, after seeing Seo-yoon abilities, thinks that she can get into any guild she wants. So why did she come there? Jin Jungdo congratulates her and she expects that he is going to do even better than her. And then the instructor calls out, Mr. Jin Jungdo, and until then only 30% of the applicants were able to pass, and he is confused as he is not sure that he is going to make up for that with his stupid talents and skills. He is told to punch whenever he is ready, and he has a secret weapon which gives him an extra 10-point stat boost. Jin Jungdo punches and scores 91 points, which made every student shocked as that score is only 6 points lower than the highest score in the academy's history. The instructor claims him a pass. Seo-yoon is quite upset as she knows he is hiding something from her. Jin Jungdo, after seeing all the students shocked by his performance, thinks that he ended up drawing too much attention. 1 month later, all 3 of the mans kept asking Mr. Cho as they offers they will pay him whatever price he wants, and all he have to do is to tell them where the Saintess is. But he has already told them that she is on vacations as she hurt herself in a raid. They wants him to give them a hint on where she is staying, and in return they will do anything he wants. He tells him by presenting the form in front of them, which claims that she is in the academy, but they did not believe him, and wants to know the exact thing, as she is not even in Mr. Cho's guild. In the meanwhile, a phone call comes from one of their members only, and he informs them that he gets to know about the saint, and commands them to send the scouts to the academy. The academy's training kept going for a month where, in the first week, all the focus is on teaching the students about dungeons and monsters. In the second week, the main focus is on the weaponry. The third week is all about emergency protocols. The last is on joint combat training, while on the final day of school, all the students take a test that determines that whether they are eligible to graduate or not. Seo-yoon can't believe that the next day is going to be their graduation day, while Jin Jung-do on the other hand is pretty calm, as maybe he is not worried about passing. Suddenly, a man from Orient Guild came in front of Seo-yoon and wanted a moment of her, but as she did not want to join, so she ran away. The man kept shouting from her back that they are going to give her the best deal. Seo-yoon is stressed out, as they thought that students' information is strictly confidential. Then how did those people find her, as it is very bad? But in the meanwhile, another man from Ram's guild came there for her to join their guild, but she ran away from there too, as she did not want to join any of their stupid guilds, and she did not need their offers. She went inside, but both the men from Orient and Ram's guild are knocking outside for her. Seo-yoon and Jin Jung-do are sitting and eating while those men are still out. Jin Jung-do calls her popular as ever because of the scouters again. She tells him that they even came to the training field a day before, which is quite embarrassing for her. Jin Jung-do advises her to take an advantage and join a decent guild, as he is pretty sure any guild would even kill to have her as their member. But she tells her that as it is her life, she can make her own choices. Jin Jung-do finds her as stubborn as a mule. Seo-yoon questions Jung-do if he wants to go somewhere nice after they graduate, but suddenly Haesik comes there as he is looking for him, and he makes him realize that they are having their graduation exam the next day, and questions him. Is he not feeling anxious? Because Haesik himself is very nervous, due to which he can't even eat. He wants Jin Jung-do to join him for some exercise session after lunch, as it is always good to loosen up with a bit of exercise when you are nervous, but Jin Jung-do denies, as he does not do that. But somehow Haesik convinces him that as it mana virtue, so no one is going to get hurt, and they will just go for one round. They went for one round. Mana virtue is a magic device that recreates users' avatar in a virtual space so that they can spar with other people without harming them like a video game. But the problem is that it's a game according to Jin Jung-do, as it's going to activate his game talent, which doubles his stats, and if he get used to using doubled stats in a game, so he is going to lose touch with his actual abilities in the real world, so he decides not to use that talent as much as possible. The game is only triggered when the game he plays is on a machine, which is a bit of shame for him. Haesik feels that there is no one who's strong enough to be his sparring partner. Seo-yoon dares him to spar with her, but he reminds her that she refuses him before to do so. Then why is she doing it then? Something's getting on her nerves and suddenly attacks Haesik. Haesik questions her, is she trying to attack her? But she reminds him that they are in mana virtual, so how could she kill her? Haesik wants her not to cause any physical harm, and wants to play rough and threatens her not to blame him afterwards if it gets serious. She keeps fighting against him with full power, which makes Haesik think that she is a saint. Jin Jung-do enters the game and watches that Seo-yoon is landing some solid blooms, but Haesik on the other hand is playing like a champion too. In the meanwhile, their instructor Kim Sang-tae is having a look on them while they are playing the game, and he is thinking, how are they going to perform the next day? And especially she wants to see Jin Jung-do's performance, as he left a strong first impression on her. It's been 3 years since she saw a monster rookie who scores 90 points as he has 13 talents. That is the most anyone had in Korea, and after turning down the countless offers from famous guild, he enters the academy. And after he graduates, he became the 9th SS-Rank user in the world, and Jin Jung-do's score is only 5 points lesser than him, and there were less applicants then. So the average passing score has been set higher in order to get as many students as possible, which makes her wonder how did Jin Jung-do would have score if he has used the older machine. The exam day is there, and the final test at the academy is clearing an E-rank dungeon by oneself, and once they pass the exam, they are going to be formally acknowledged as mana users who can raid dungeons, and also a B-rank instructor is going to accompany them for their safety, but they are instructed to never let their guard down in the dungeon. Seo-yoon is stressing out, but Jin Jung-do motivates her by patting on her shoulder and wishes her to be safe, and he is going to see her when she gets back, and it's just an E-rank dungeon, and he is pretty sure that Seo-yoon can do that. She thanks him and moves. Jin Jung-do hopes that Seo-yoon is going to be all good, so Haesik reminds him of the time she beat him and tells him not to worry about it. Seo-yoon cleared the dungeon, and it went well. Haesik wants her to see Jin Jung-do getting worried for her, and then it is time for Team B, which is Haesik and Jin Jung-do, to get in their positions. Seo-yoon requests him to take care of himself. Jin Jungdo pats on her head and tells her then he is going to be back soon. An analysis is made that it is an E-rank dungeon, and the party size limit is 10 users, so their instructor is going with Team B. They go inside. The instructor takes out a diary and notes down the reaction, which are all under 1 second, and gives additional points for Jin Jungdo, because he is the quickest. Jin Jungdo tells all of them that the dungeon entrance is all clear, so they are going to follow the manual and move in battle information, since that is an examination dungeon. Ms. Kim Sung-tae feels that it is a shame that such a patient and skilled student as Jin Jungdo is not given better talents by the Awaker, as his stats are higher than other students, and if he has the right talents, he might have qualified for an S-ranker, or maybe even higher. They are fighting against the hunk, but as it is very strong, they are unable to compete with it. Jin Jungdo felt sorry as he made a mistake, but it is fine with Haesuk, because the hunk is much stronger than it looked, and even Mr. Kang is clearly capable of blocking a charging E-rank orc, and he may have to intervene if things get dangerous, and they came. The archers are instructed to get ready and fire. Haesuk is asked to block the bottom, and they are able to defeat that too. Meanwhile, outside the dungeon, one of the men have something in his hand. His sir steals that from his hand, and have to look at that, which made him angry. He asks him which lousy seeker did he went for that dungeon, but he tells him that he was introduced by another guild, and after so much forcing he tells him that the guild is Karma. He felt sorry for his sir, as he did not know where else he could find a decent dungeon. Their sir informs them all that he believes there is some dungeon scam, as he has heard that there are some seekers who have a special kind of mana that can be used to manipulate dungeon analysis reports, but he never thought that they will fall victim to one. Inside the dungeon, the only thing left is the boss room, and they all target to get over that. But something does not feel right to Jin Jungdo, as even the Lizard Man boss room did not feel that ominous, and that is a D-rank dungeon. The door opened. They went inside and the boss was standing in front of them. Everyone panics as if it is an emergency. Their instructor announces that their test is postponed at that moment, as that dungeon is not an E-rank examination dungeon, but it's an A-rank boss dungeon. As the portal for the illegal dungeon is sealed by the National Association of Mana Users, Seo-yoon asks the person who caught the offender where he is. He replies to her that he's currently unconscious because he knocked him out. Hearing their conversation, the officer looking over the sealed portal assures them that the culprit will be incarcerated as soon as he wakes up. Then she moves up to her co-worker and asks if they have any information regarding Karma Guild, to which he replies that they said they were unable to locate the seeker, and also added that it was just an unfortunate accident. Seo Sang-hee, the User Association's management leader, states that they should have never let those lunatics form a guild in the first place. She further asks if the dungeon is a boss dungeon, to which the man replies that yes, it is an A-rank one, and instructor Kim Sung-tae is with them. He is the best out of all B-rank users before he could finish his sentence. Sag-hee angrily interrupts him, saying that he must be joking. She hurriedly informs them that this is a boss dungeon, not an extermination type. And on top of that, the booze monster is of an A-rank dungeon. The boss is at least as vicious as the boss of an S-rank extermination dungeon, and a B-rank will never be able to defeat it. Seo-yoon goes up to her and asks with tears in her eyes if it is impossible to save the people who are trapped inside. Sang-hee hesitantly tells her that unfortunately it is the case, because when a dungeon raid is in progress, other users cannot enter the dungeon unless everyone in the party has been killed. And all they can do right now is avenge them after their untimely death. Inside the dungeon, the final boss raises his weapon to attack a student who trembles in fear. Just then Sang-tae uses a mesmerizing entangle to stop the boss, and the tangles start emerging from the ground as they tightly hold the boss. Sang-tae orders everyone, and informs that he will be their party leader from this point forward as he tries to fight the monster. He tells them to stay focused and do exactly what he alleges. The students also get worried, as Sang-tae continues instructing them that they need to land as many critical blows as possible while he is holding on to the boss monster. Students look at the uncontrollable monster and shake in worry, as one student bursts into tears, yelling that she can't fight a monster like this. Just then, the boss monster tears the entangles Sang-tae had forced upon him. As he thinks that the monster is already setting himself free, he tries once again as the boss monster lets out a low growl, and Sang-tae brings forward that at this rate they will all die down here. Just as the boss monster attacks Sang-tae, Jungdo unsheathes his special weapon and attacks the boss. He fights the boss alone with his sword, as everyone lets out audible gasps, shocked at the scenes. 10 minutes ago, when they faced the A-rank boss monster and Sang-tae tried to hold it, Jongdo thought that he couldn't afford to hide his ability in a situation like this, and that he needed more luck than ever right now. He hurriedly summoned an ally, Liu Shan, as he greets him, saying that it has been a while since he last saw him but got cut after watching the boss monster. He lets out a scream, saying, "What is that hideous monster? Youngdo hurriedly informs him that he has no time to explain anything and he has faith in Liu Shan, with a determined look on his face, to which Liu Shan stops him waving his hands around that why would Youngdo has any faith in him for a battle, saying that he is not even a warrior. Listening to him, Youngdo abruptly opens the Draw of Fate and thinks if he was able to use Information Draw, with Liu Shan by his side, that probably means that he can use the Draw of Fate as well. He watches as a notification appears with a ding that shows that the 10th Draw of Fate draws a hero of a rare rank or above. Liu Shan laughs and states that it looks like he will have to thank him later as he chose a diamond card from the draw. Youngdo exclaims in excitement that it's a diamond card. Youngdo crashes the boss monster, as Sangti asks him with a shock what on earth is happening right now, to which Youngdo meekly replies that he just got lucky, that's all. Jegdo looks back at the ally he summoned, Siegfried of level 99. He snickers and thinks that the mighty hero from Germanic mythology is here, and who would have thought he would summon the Dragon Slayer who defeated Fafnir the evil dragon. The boss monster stomps his feet on the ground, and as he blocks Youngdo's attack, he opens his mouth in shock, thinking if the monster blocked his attacks for real. He activates observation and thinks that Cho Hakre, who was an A-rank user, also couldn't defend himself against his attacks. Then what level is that boss monster on? He observes its level, which shows that the monster is an Orc Lord, or level 82. Youngdo eyes widened in shock that this monster is on level 82. He thinks that it's a high level among S-rank monsters. Just then the monster runs towards him as Siegfried alerts him about it. The monster raises its weapon to end Youngdo right on the spot, but Youngdo dodges that attack with great skill. But the monster raises its weapon again to attack him, and Youngdo wields his sword, also moves toward the filthy A-rank boss monster, and uses all of his might to attack him. Youngdo attacks the boss monster with his sword, and the boss monster is surprised by the strength of his attack. Youngdo grits his teeth, his sword clashing with the monster's weapon. He mocks the monster by sarcastically asking him if he is an S-rank monster. Youngdo hits the S-rank monster again and asks the boss monster how long he can last up against his SS-Rank abilities. The gigantic green-colored boss monster lifts his axe with a roar and attacks Youngdo. He dodges and attacks, slashing the monster. The monster finally lets out a roar as he runs towards Youngdo, but Youngdo again uses his sword to block his attacks. Youngdo laughs at the monster's face as he mocks him, asking if this is everything he got, angering the boss even more. The battle continues as each attack and block the coming blows, leaving their audience in a state of shock and worry. Youngdo finally raises his sword and passes a smile at the monster, stating that it's over and calls him a big guy, and runs toward the monster with a raised sword and stabs it right in his stomach as it falls down with an ear-piercing screech. Siegfried appears again as he congratulates Youngdo, saying that he did a good job at defeating the enemy. He replies that it's thanks to him anyway. Haishik and other students come running to him and thank him, saying that if it weren't for Kim Sangtae and him, they all would be dead by that monster. Youngdo waves his hand as he implies that there is no need to thank him, and he is just glad that everyone is all right. Haishik exclaims that his attacks were incredible. Sangtae approaches him and informs him that he has many questions to ask him, but he believes they will have to finish what they came here for first. He smiles at him as he replies that he will gladly provide the answer. Just then he feels a sudden presence of the monster's hand from his behind. Haishik pushes him and telling him to look out as he comes in direct contact with the monster's hand as it slashes Haishik's arm, and he lets out a yell of pain and gets pushed by the monster. The boss monster stands up with red rays coming out of his eyes and its head. Haishik crashes into the pillar with a thud. Youngdo looks at the monster as he curses the damn thing and raises his sword to attack him again, but the monster blocks his attacks. Youngdo thinks that why is it happening now as his attacks go useless against the beast. He asks Sangtae if it's common among Orc Lords to have this skill, to which Sangtae replies that not at all, and Orc Lords usually engage in hand-in-hand combat while using their war cries to confuse the enemy. And as far as he knows, this isn't how an Orc Lord fights at all. Sangtae realizes something as he starts saying that he does have a theory, and this may be a rare case where a monster learns to use a new skill when it is close to its death. In other words, that Orc Lord has mutated. Just then, the Orc Lord lets out a roar, throwing many small rocks at the students. Suddenly, a student informs him that he can't move, to which Kim Sangtae tells him that this is an Orc Lord's war cry. Youngdo charges toward it, activating his skill and patience, but gets pushed by the Orc Lord throwing punches at him. He barely dodges his attacks, but attacks the monster again. He thinks about why this monster is suddenly so fast. Suddenly, someone screams at him to look above him, but he blocks his attack using his sword. Just then, Siegfried appears, saying that the monster is using one of his skills, Dragon Blood Awakening. It is a skill he acquired after he slayed Fafnir and drank its blood, and when used in a groggy state, it cancels out all attacks headed the user's way and heals their every wound while boosting all their stats temporarily. Youngdo turns towards Siegfried and asks him if he is actually serious. Siegfried cries, telling him to look behind, but the monster attacks him as Youngdo staggers. The monster keeps attacking and Youngdo barely dodges his attacks. Siegfried informs that it looks like his time in this world has run out. Youngdo asks in shock. If the time is really up, Siegfried replies the skill won't last too long and just stay away from the monster until it wears. And before finishing his sentence, he vanishes. And suddenly Youngdo's sword gets too heavy to lift by him alone. The monster looks at him and grins. Youngdo gets scared and thinks that it looks like the monster noticed that he has become weaker. He looks behind him where everyone is still in their place. He thinks that the others can't even move right now, and he can't even use the Raw of Fate because he does not have any more mana. He looks at the monster with a shocked look on his face and a sword, too heavy for him as he thinks that what can he do in this situation. The monster raises his hand as Youngdo just stares at him, thinking if it's really the end for him. He remembers that after all, he has been through to finally become a mana user. He thinks of Seo-yoon's teary face, and thinks that he even promised Seo-yoon that he would be back, and dejectedly indicates that he does not want to die like this. The boss monster in front of him visually fumes with anger, his teeth bared. Jongdu tightens his hold on his sword and clenches it tightly. He shouts in decline that he refuses to die like this. He stomps his feet and shouts at the monster, calling orc, and swings his sword with all of his strength, slashing the orc's hand off his arm. He screams loudly at the monster that it will never get him. The orc laughs at Jongdu's hopeful effort. At Jongdu's strong attack, a notification window pops up saying that the king of all weapons has successfully reproduced an ancient weapon. Another one speaks that he can now use all the abilities of the ancient weapon, Balmung the Demon Slayer. Another notification window shows that dragon blood is detected in the opponent, and that 1000% to user stats when facing opponents with dragon blood. Jongdu's eyes blaze with a neon glow as he lifts his sword with a scream and slashes the boss monster's body in half. Youngdo is relieved and finally lets out a sigh of relief with the orc's corpse beside his feet. The status window shows him the rewards, which are +3 mana and +5 strength. Jongdu looks at the monster's carcass and asks himself if it's really over now. He looks at his disappearing weapon and guesses that the weapon was not called King of All Weapons for nothing. He further asserts that who would have known that it could restore the traits of a weapon as well as its form. He thinks about the dwarves and thanks them gratefully. A notification pops up saying that he has succeeded in summoning a supreme being and that he has acquired a part of the being's abilities. His status window shows that the skill Dragon Blood Awakening is unlocked. Youngdo is pleasantly surprised to see that and notes that he unlocked another skill after Green Dragon Steps. He knows that a golden card only offers stat boosts, but diamond cards offer skills as a reward. He thinks about the boss monster using the Dragon Blood Awakening skill and affirms that it is really a perfect skill, and it is like he has an extra life now. Youngdo adds cheerfully, if they should clean up now. He looks towards his team members to see that they're all staring at him without uttering a word. He meekly asks why is everybody so intense, and then Haishik comes limping at him. Youngdo hurriedly tells him that thank God he is okay. Haishik nervously asks him if he is going to kill everyone now. Youngdo looks at him and replies, why would he do it? To which Haishik informs that he must be one of those rogue high-level users who kills everyone who witnessed their skills to keep a low profile. Youngdo yells what the hell is he talking about, and what kind of lunatic he thinks he is, and who would kill innocent people like that. After hearing this, the students all look relieved. He tells him that he is no rogue high-level user either, and they all saw that he was a level 2 when they came in here. Sangtae articulates that doesn't explain why he is so strong. Haishik asks him again how come he is so strong. Sangtae nervously thinks about how could Haishik just ask for a user's personal information like that. Youngdo just replies that he has a very special first skill, but he can't tell anyone yet. Haishik's eyes go wide as he asks him if that means that he will get much stronger when he gets his first skill. Youngdo thinks to himself only if he has a level 3 talent. Outside the dungeon, Sanghee's assistant asks what is taking them so long, and if they are in hiding and leave this dungeon uncleared for 30 days, it will cause a dungeon break where the monsters inside the dungeon break free and cross over into their world, and asks Sanghee that they shouldn't consider launching the dungeon closure system while they still have time. She assures him that nothing of the sort will happen as long as Sangtae is in there. He doesn't show it, but he is dead serious about his responsibilities, and he would have challenged the boss even if he knew they wouldn't be able to defeat it. Just then, the portal shakes as the assistant tells her that it seems that the raid is over. Sanghee tells everyone to get ready to enter and implies that she will make sure to avenge them properly. They all get ready to enter, but the students enter from the portal as Sangtae informs them that Team B dungeon is cleared and their test is officially over. Sanghee moves towards him trying to stop him. Sangtae recognizes her, asking if that is Sanghee, to which she replies that it is Ms. Seo, and asks him if he found out that the dungeon info was a scam and how the hell he got out of an A-rank boss dungeon. She glances at the axe that the orc used and screams if that is an orc lord's war axe. She runs towards it and admires the axe as she claims that this is an extremely rare item. Less than 10 of these have been found in Korea. And how did it end up here? She turns towards him and asks if she defeated the orc lord in the dungeon. He tells her that it's a long story. Just then the director of the company starts clapping and utters that Kim Sang-tae really is the pride of his academy, and since he belongs to the academy, this prize rightfully belongs to the academy as well. Sang-hee angrily mentions that moments ago he was hiding behind everyone else and cowering, and now he comes waltzing in after the dangers past to claim that prize for his own. Min-jae reaches for the axe just then. Young-do grabs and comments that the axe is his, and he slayed the orc lord, so it belongs to him. Min-jae asks if he is one of the students, and how dare he utter such nonsense. Chung-do looks at him and giving him a fake smile and claims that he was the one who defeated the orc lord. Jin Jung-do asks Kim Min-jae firmly if he thinks that Jung-do is his subordinate, and suggests to him that he's a student at Kim Min-jae's academy, and threatens if he should make a complaint against his academy for what happened here. Kim Min-jae gets intimidated by Young-do and quickly apologizes to him, but states that even so, Young-do should not lie to him. But Sung-tae interrupts him and clarifies that Young-do is not lying since it's true that Young-do defeated the orc lord alone. Sung-tae then tells about himself that he actually did nothing this time, to which Kim Min-jae calls it impossible and refuses to believe. He yells that it does not make any sense that a student defeated an orc lord. Looking at Min-jae's reaction, Jung-do quotes that common sense does not apply in the dungeon, which makes Kim Min-jae more shocked when Jung-do further questions him if this is not what they in the academy teach. Moreover, Young-do asks Min-jae if instead of taking the spoils, he shouldn't be taking care of them, who barely survived out of the dungeon, since Min-jae should be explaining the situation to them and doing something about it. All of them agree with Jeon-do, whereas Kim Min-jae nervously wonders that they all have come back safely, so what's the need? When Seo Sung-hwae watches the CEO act like that, she wonders if that was how others saw her as well, and mumbles that she is so embarrassed. She then steps forward and orders the men that as of this moment, the emergency situation has been resolved, so bring the students to the hospital right now as they have been exposed to the war cry and there may be internal injuries, so make sure that they are examined thoroughly. Kim Min-jae gets anxious, so he yells at them to remind them that he is the highest in command at the academy and everyone must obey his orders instead, and keeps yelling at them. At the hospital, when Sung-tae informs Sang-hwae about the events, she gets shocked at the mention of mutation and asks him in disbelief about what he just said. He confirms his words and explains that Young-do definitely defeated the Orc Lord. However, the Orc Lord's body exuded a crimson energy and recovered from all of its injuries and started to look much stronger than before as well. He further informs that Jin Jeon-do split that Orc Lord into two with a single slash afterward. When Sang-hwee's eyes widen in surprise, Sung-tae further informs her that this is just a guess of his. However, student Jung-do was only carrying a spear when he first entered the dungeon, but when he was fighting against the Orc Lord, it changed into a greatsword with a golden handle and an azure jewel embedded in it. Sang-hwee listened with curiosity as he continued that seeing as how, when Young-do split the Orc Lord into two, the azure jewel in the sword shined, and how the sword disappeared. After that, Sung-tae stated that his guess is that Young-do is probably a mana consumption artifact. After listening, Sang-hwee delivers in a thoughtful way, an artifact that can kill the Orc Lord in a single strike, and asks Sung-tae if Jung-do's skill or talent is artifact creation, to which Sung-tae agrees, and states it is probably an ability similar to what America's SS-Rank Whitesmith has. When she sees Sung-tae agreeing, she asserts that they have just one thing to do then, and orders Sung-tae to let's go while dragging him by his shirt. In the hospital bed, Young-do opens his status window and notices that he's now level 4, and surprisedly discloses he has gone up 2 levels with the expedition this time. However, it does not feel like much even though he went through a lot to kill an S-rank boss, but power leveling does not exist, so he guesses that there is nothing he can do about it. He then thinks that in order for him to level up efficiently, he needs to enter as many dungeons at his level as possible. However, there's no guarantee that he'd get information about dungeons if he uses the info gacha. Plus, there's a limit as to how many dungeons he can find by himself. He asks himself what he should do about this when he hears a knock at the door and the voice of a woman informing him that she is Seo Sang-hwae and seeks permission to come in. He quickly closes his status window and allows her in. Sang-hwee enters the room along with Sung-tae and asks Jung-do about how he's feeling. He answered that fortunately he wasn't injured, so they said that he could be discharged tomorrow. She expresses her relief and says that she'll introduce herself formally to him, and informs that she is the task force team leader from the Korean Users Association, who is in charge of the incident this time around, and her name is Seo Sang-hwae. She then says that she thinks they owe him an explanation for the incident this time, to which Youngdo agrees. And after telling his name, he says that he would like to hear her explanation. Sang-hui starts explaining to Youngdo that an academy's salesperson was cheated by a dungeon scam. However, the whereabouts of the seeker who made the deal with him are currently unknown. Also, their guess is that it is related to the Karma Guild, but there is no evidence that this is the Karma Guild's doing, and with the academy paying out compensation, there is a high chance that this incident will be closed like this. On the mention of the Karma Guild, Jondo gets shocked and wonders if this could be because of Jo Hakre, and questions Sang-hui, why the Karma Guild? She answers him that it is because there has been some friction between the academy and the Karma Guild recently. Therefore, she cannot help but think that it could be related to that. Youngdo quickly lets out a deep sigh on knowing the actual reason, realizing that it is not because of him. However, he states that it's strange that they aren't even users who belong to the academy, so how did it affect the academies by just killing a few students? To Jungdo's suspicion, Sungtae replies that they were probably after him and not the other students like Jungdo or others, because Sungtae's father is the academy's director. Jungdo gets surprised in disbelief at how Sungate is from a rich family, whereas Sungtae continues that in any case, the incident this time is 100% the academy's fault, and CEO Kim In-jae will be stepping down, and they will also be compensating student Jin Jungdo as their apology. With that, he bows in front of Jondo, saying that they offer their sincere apologies. Youngdo nonchalantly says that as a user, they have to be prepared to run into unexpected situations, and since he's gotten the apology and will be receiving compensation, he won't pursue things any further either. Sang-hui then addresses him and queries him enthusiastically if he'd be interested in working for their country, but he bluntly refuses completely. She says that he should at least hear her out first, but he insistently refuses, saying that he is not interested and thinks that he already knows that he'd be obligated to serve the country for 3 years if he decided to work for it. And in other words, the country's slave. So it'll be like military service all over again. Recalling how the last duty he had in the military before the Great Catastrophe was really terrible, he wonders if she now wants him to enlist as a user, which is no way that he'll do it. Sunghui says to him that she thinks he has some misunderstandings, and obligatory duties are for users to be exempted from paying the 300 million W1 fee that is incurred from using the Awaker, and since he has already paid the 300 million W1, he'll not need to fulfill any obligatory duties. She explains that there are several benefits for a user that belongs to the country, so he has free access to all the user facilities that the country runs, and he can continuously enter dungeons that are of his level for free. Plus, the tax is also non-existent as well. When Youngdo expresses his surprise, she adds that in return for all this, 4 times a month, he would have to clear dungeons that the country demands of him, and 70% of the spoils from that would go to the country. Even after this, Youngdo still refuses and thinks that since he does not know what information he'd get from the info gacha, he cannot join a single group, and he needs to be not bound by any contract in order for him to move and do what he needs, no matter what information he obtains. When Jungdo refuses again, Sang-hui states that in that case, she'd like to make an expedition request to him and inquires him what he thinks. When he wonders about it, she explains that as dungeons worldwide continue to increase exponentially, the number of users needed to clear it might not be sufficient, and so they'd make dungeon expedition requests to users in return for a price. Hence, with the objective of helping to nurture users, they'd take care of all the necessary fees in order to enter the dungeon, and all they ask for is 30% of the magic stones that he obtained in the expedition, and they'll also not force him to take the request, and he can reject the expeditions that he does not want to do. Youngdo says that it sounds alright since it'll be hard for him to find dungeons by himself, and thinks that the dungeons that the association finds would be stable. So even if they want to take 30% of the magic stones, there aren't many mana stones at lower level dungeons, because the price of a dungeon would cost a lot. Hence, he finally accepts her proposal and wonders if they can sign the contract now, to which she says that the association will find him a suitable dungeon and contact him again, and then he can just sign the contract. He then wonders if Sungtae needs to go back to the academy after he's been discharged, to which Sungtae answers that he's finished all mandatory training so he can just rest wherever he wants, and begs to please attend the graduation ceremony, to which Youngdo agrees. As Sungtae is leaving, she turns around and calls Jungdo out. On asking, she tells him that she'd like to buy his war axe, requesting him to give her a discount as well. Seo Sunghui brings the contract to Youngdo and shows him the places to sign while carrying the war axe on her back. He surprisingly seeks her if it is not too bulky, but she says that it is fine since she does not want to be separated from this baby for a single second and looks at it happily, to which he says that he is glad it managed to find a good owner. After the contract is signed, Sanghui says that they will be counting on him for the expedition in 2 days, so he agrees, telling her to leave it to him. Before leaving, she questions him if he'd like to take a look around the association, as she'll bring him somewhere he will like. Thus, he agrees. Arriving at the gym, Youngdo raises a question for her if this is the training center in the association that he has heard about, whereas when the guys see Sangui approaching, they improve their workout. Passing by them, she inquires them if they are doing their best, because if they do not want to become a burden in expeditions, they should train as if it is their last day, and they all affirm energetically. One of them looks at her and admiringly calls her amazing, whereas another one appreciates that she is working hard with her dazzling beauty and impressive charisma today while wondering about Youngdo, who he is. As they walk ahead, Han Sang-hyuk greets Sang-hui, so she quizzes him if he was training. He looks up at Youngdo and wonders if he is the person who took down the Orc Lord in the dungeon incident, so Youngdo greets him and introduces himself. Sang-hyuk then also introduces himself, and Sang-hui informs Sang-hyuk that Youngdo was here to settle some stuff with the association, so she decided to show him around the headquarters. She instructs Sang-hyuk not to be rude to Youngdo since he's an important guest. Sang-hyuk looks at Youngdo closely, and despite Sang-hui's order, when he challenges him for a mock duel, Sang-hui scolds him if he did not hear her when she told him not to be rude, to which he questions if this is not the fastest way for users to get to know each other. Youngdo thinks to himself if Sang-hyuk is trying to show off how strong he is by taking him down, and decides that there is not any need for him to get involved in this. Therefore, he apologizes, saying that he does not like mock duels and is going to look around a little more. However, when Sang-hyuk mocks him, Youngdo agrees to it, but Sang-hui tells him that he does not have to play along with Sang-hyuk since he is a C rank and Youngdo is an E rank who just got discharged. Youngdo assures her that it'll be alright, and since they're about to work together, he wonders if it wouldn't be a joke if Sang-hyuk does not know what he is capable of, so he'll take this chance to show Sang-hyuk what he can do. Sang-hui wonders if Youngdo did not win against the Orc Lord because of his item, and Mana Virtual scans the user's information and creates an avatar with the basic equipment so he won't be able to win. Both of them put on their VRs while Youngdo thinks that Sang-hyuk might be able to win in real life, but it's a different story when it comes to mock duels in Mana Virtual. The game begins with a notification that as long as they are playing, all their stats will be doubled. They get into their stances, and Sang-hyuk apologizes to him for being rude, saying that he really wanted to fight Youngdo. When Youngdo looks at Sang-hyuk's dual swords, he gets reminded of Jo Hakre and calls it an unpleasant memory. Sang-hyuk addresses him as Orc Lord Slayer, saying it would be great if he could learn something from Youngdo. Otherwise, he could take this chance to show off his strength as the team leader, Seo Sang-hui, and adds that it works out for him either way. When Youngdo keeps staring at him without saying anything, Sang-hyuk laughs that it looks like he is being hated on, and then quickly runs towards Youngdo to attack, yelling that he's confident in his speed. However, as he gets closer, Youngdo takes off his VR and gets out of the game, telling Sang-hui that this is enough for the tour today, and he will leave now, to which she says that she'll send him out, but he replies that it's okay, and he'll be gone himself. As soon as Youngdo walks out of the building, Sang-hui starts yelling at Sang-hyuk in anger, asking if he really has a death wish. However, Youngdo thinks that to think he'll respond to such provocation so easily is dumb, since he still has a long way to go. Later at night, Youngdo says that after his last test at the academy, his mana is currently at 23, and now that he has more than 20 mana, he can use Connection Gacha twice as before, but it feels a little insufficient since he still needs 4 mana to load Liu Shan via the guaranteed gacha. He opens the status window, saying that if only he had 1 more mana, he could use the Connection Gacha twice even after he loads Liu Shan, but realizes that there is no point fretting about what he does not have since he can get a guaranteed rare and above after 10 gachas. He should use as many connection gachas as possible as compared to using it on info gacha. He at last decides that it is better for him to raise his stats slowly but surely this way. When he sees a blank gacha, he gets surprised but then calms himself by saying that he should have gotten used to this by now. But he still goes through a roller coaster ride whenever he does this stupid gacha thing. A creation appears from Gacha, who looks like a farmer, and is introduced by Yans from the Chromal Kingdom. Youngdo's eyes widen in disbelief at the name of the kingdom, and he thinks if such a place ever existed, so he inquires Yans if he may know when Yans was born. Yans gets in deep thoughts while thinking about it, and then answers that he was born in Christia in the year 5728. Youngdo looks at him in confusion and asks him what Christia is, so Yans answers that it is the name of the goddess that believes in. On knowing this, Youngdo realizes that he was right since Yans is from another world. He then wonders if this means that he can load someone from worlds other than Earth, which means that he can even load fantasy heroes like great magicians and swordmasters as well, or the superhumans from other worlds. Youngdo then thinks if there is not a chance that they might know about why dungeons are appearing on Earth, so he declares it as a really good piece of information and calls for the next gacha. When the blank gacha appears, he looks at it, and with his hands clasped, he prays for something good to appear this time. However, nothing comes forth, so he sulks in sadness, disappointedly stating that he knew that his luck sucks. However, suddenly Liu Shan appears behind him, and on seeing Jungdo in such a state, he queries Jungdo about why he is so downcast. When Jungdo listens to Liu Shan's voice, he turns back in surprise and asks him in disbelief why he is here when Jungdo made a connection to gacha instead of guaranteeing gacha. Even before Liu Shan could answer, Jungdo realizes it himself and yells in disbelief and agony if this is for real, concluding if he really just picks Liu Shan's name card again among all those numerous name cards, and now he has got Liu Shan, who is already in his album, that too in exchange for 6 mana. Jungdo dramatically falls to the floor and starts sobbing, saying that he wonders if there is anyone more unlucky than him in the world. Before Liu Shan goes back, he asks Jungdo if he does not think that he would feel hurt if Jungdo becomes so depressed after getting him. As he disappears, Jungdo looks up at the status window, which displays that he has successfully loaded the same character twice, so now Liu Shan Gongxi has been strengthened by +1. In addition to that, as a reward, Jungdo has been given the skill, Combo Gacha. At all this information, Jungdo just keeps staring in complete disbelief. Jin Jungdo is shocked that Liu Shan was strengthened, and wonders what does that even mean. As he checks on stats, he realizes that his stats did increase. He feels like this drawing skill resembled drawing prizes or character cards in video games, so it looks like the summoned ally gets stronger if he draws their card again, although his stats are still so low that the change is barely noticeable. It's a shame that Liu Shan's talent didn't level up though. Just then Jin Jungdo realizes that maybe it's like enhancing items in a video game. The higher the enchantment level, the higher the stats get. Maybe this way his talent will also level up someday as well. Then he gets to know that these cards won't break like items that fail to get enhanced in video games. Liu Shan doesn't understand what he just said, but it sounds terrifying, a noble one. Jungdo was just thinking about how he came to draw his card again. Liu Shan adds that it's easy because he is lucky and strong luck is his middle name after all. Jungdo states that he is sure that a level 2 strong luck is a very rare talent, but if he considers how big the real universe is, there should at least be thousands of other people who have such abilities, so Jungdo doesn't understand how he ended up drawing Liu Shan a second time. Liu Shan believes that would be because their fates crossed paths when he drew his card on his first draw of fate. From what he observed, Jungdo's skills tend to summon people or things that are closely related to him. It hits Jungdo's mind, and he realizes that it's right. He did always get information about locations near him from all his info draws, and the 12 allies that he drew were heroes from this dimension on Earth. With this expectation of Jorn's, that's the case. Liu Shan hesitates and leaves, saying he will see him soon, sometime, so don't count on it, calling Jungdo a noble one. Jungdo is irritated, and it looks like he is really stuck with him. He decides to focus on the good Jews he got earlier. Just then, his stats points catches his eye, which shows that his stats increased by 1 point each. He wonders if that +1 strengthening applies to him as well, and excites, claiming being stuck with Liu Shan isn't so bad. He decides to check out the Combine Draw effect. As he clicks the button, a weird pink monster with 2 drawing sections appears, making Jungdo startled. Combine Draw allows 2 heroes to be drawn from the ally list. Then it will summon another random hero who is closely related to those 2. Jungdo wonders if he combines Lu Bu and Liu Shan, then he can summon Liu Bei, Guan Yu, and Zhang Fei as a potential ally. He opens his ally list and picks Liu Shan and Lu Bu and puts them there. A notification pops up informing they both are combinable and 40 mana will be consumed. First usage of Combined Draw does not consume mana. A pop appears asking would he like to draw now, yes or no. He wants to save it for later, but his finger approaches to click on yes. He struggles to stop himself, saying that he might need to use this when he is stuck in an emergency. Then he gets curious to check if Giz and Liu Shan are combinable, but they are uncombinable. He realizes that the purpose of Combined Draw lies in narrowing the draw range. For example, combining Liu Shan and Lu Bu would allow him to draw a hero from the 3 Kingdoms period. He gets it now. Later, a manager informs Jin Jungdo that the analysis is complete. This is a single-user E-rank extermination dungeon. Would he like to enter? Jungdo asks for a second and decides to check it out himself, as he was the victim of a dungeon scam after all. As he checks, it confirms, and he gets hidden info from the observation that there is a sack of mana stones buried under the boss room. That's so impressive to him. This is amazing. Knowing what monsters he is up against will be a great advantage, not to mention the hidden rewards. He decides to go in. Manager adds that the current time is 10 AM, so please proceed to enter. As Jungdo enters, a group of goblins rushes towards him to attack. He slaughters all of them within a second. After clearing them all, he laughs, as now this is more like it. And what the hell was he going through in his past raids? Suddenly more of those goblins show up and he takes all of them down, gaining a lot of points, as it is just a piece of cake to him. He must be in heaven. But to his surprise, a boss hobgoblin appears. Jin Jungdo doesn't hesitate a bit and attacks him, penetrating his sword into him. The boss hobgoblin falls down in an instant. Jungdo gets shocked as his stats were as high as a C-rank user's, but he didn't know he could take an E-rank boss out like this. Anyway, he takes out his hammer, as now it's time for some treasure hunting. He starts digging into the boss's room, and finally he manages to find the treasure. He comes back with the treasure, and the manager is in shock at how he cleared the dungeon already as it has only been an hour or so. Jungdo laughs and asks if there are any other dungeons around here. Manager realizes that he doesn't even look tired, and informs that unfortunately, there are no more Namu-approved dungeons here, but if he wants, he can always go on Mananet and search for raid parties. With the recent increase in dungeons, nowadays, more users from different guilds are teaming up to raid dungeons. He shows Jungdo that website. Jungdo asks if he just has to enter the serial number on his mana watch to log in. He guesses it's worth a try. He sees there is one recruitment available, accepting any rank. According to Jungdo, they are looking for a newbie to carry their stuff or something. He calls them and informs them that he saw their post on Mananet. As he continues further, the person on the call rudely replies that they got their guy, at which Jungdo burns in anger. Seeing that, the manager hesitantly laughs and comments that it seems like things didn't work out for him. Jungdo is irritated that someone else took the job, but it's fine with him. Jungdo then hands over the mana stones he got for defeating the monsters and shows the hidden treasure that he found in the boss room. As the manager approaches to grab the treasure, Jungdo quickly snatches it away, saying all the rewards he gets in a dungeon raid, aside from the mana stones, rightfully belong to him. And as he can see from its condition, this has already been processed once, unlike the monster's mana stones. The manager hesitantly agrees, adding he was just gawking at how lucky he is. Jin Jungdo is proud that it's not easy to find such a great reward in an E-rank dungeon. He got lucky, but deep down it's all thanks to observation. At the training center, Jungdo is busy training to his core. After a while it gets enough for today. He takes a shower, and as he passes from the corridor, news appears on television there saying, around noon today, on the outskirts of Osan, Gyeonggi Province, a dungeon break occurred. The association's users came to aid in time, so there were no civilian casualties. However, Mr. Kim, who happened to be near the dungeon, passed away. Everyone around the corridor starts wondering, if the DCs fail again, how did he die? Didn't he hear the evacuation broadcast? One of them mentions that his friend lives in Osan, but he told him there were no evacuation broadcasts this time. Jungdo realizes that the outskirts of Osan is where he went. If the dungeon break happened at 12 p.m., the mana emitted from the dungeon must have been at its highest when he was there. He wonders why he didn't feel that. He should have been able to, since he was nearby. He suspects the party that he contacted on Manhwa but refuses his thought that what kind of lunatic would invite people to a dungeon on the brink of a dungeon break. Later, he decides to check what he gets today. Liu Shan appears, and they meet again. They seem to be meeting more often than not nowadays, which is wonderful. Liu Shan asks if Jungdo is going for an info draw today, to which Jungdo notifies that he is a bit low on mana right now because he went on a raid, so he is planning to draw these until he has 10 mana left, and then go for a draw of fate. The pink weird thing beside him reassures him that he can count on it. Some blue capsules drop, at which Liu Shan laughs, but Jungdo nervously clarifies that there is no need to worry about it. He knows this crappy game balance is hard to overcome, even with his strong luck. Deep down he realizes that it could be that his bad luck is weighing Liu Shan's good luck down. That thing drops a purple ominous capsule. A notification appears, alerting about a danger that he has acquired his first threat information, whereas the information draw thing has been enhanced. He can now set a certain target when using information draw. Its mana usage is 5. That capsule thing breaks into 2, and a threat appears from it. In 4 days, an intentional dungeon break will take place at Gangnam District, Seoul. Jungdo is flabbergasted and wonders if that means someone could cause a dungeon break instead of waiting 30 days for it to happen naturally. He thinks about the dungeon break from this morning and gets to know why he didn't feel anything even though he was in the area and why there were no evacuation broadcasts. If someone intentionally caused the dungeon break, it all makes sense. The guy he talked to earlier today must be the culprit, and he is sure of it. The phone call ended up creating a link between them, so information about this dungeon break was included in this draw. Jin Jungdo starts panicking, wondering what he should do. If he goes by himself to stop the dungeon break, he might get himself killed in the process. But if he let other people know that he can see parts of the future, he might get locked up somewhere and be forced to become a fortune-telling machine. Jungdo is stressed, as he can't tell anyone about this before he acquires the strength to protect himself. But maybe he should give Ms. Seo a hint about this. He taps the blinking button threat information. It refers to information about events that could twist the synchronized timeline between the real universe's history and dimensions. If the timeline is twisted, he will no longer be able to acquire information on the future. Defeat all monsters that cross over during the dungeon break. Then he will be rewarded by the real universe upon success. But to his surprise, it's a quest, and the time remaining is 101 hours and 27 minutes. Enhancement, combination, and now a quest. This reminds Youngdo of the day Winry granted him his skill. He never understood why she came out of nowhere just to give him this amazing gift. But now he does. The universe wants to prevent the desynchronization of history through him, the only person it can communicate with. He guesses they both need each other's help. The next day, a group of horrible zombies shows up in the city. A serious meeting takes place in a large conference room. The officials discuss a shocking event, 2 dungeon breaks in a single day. One of the officials wonders how neither of these dungeons was registered in the association's directory, meaning they are rogue dungeons. Another official expresses frustration, believing that this happened because some people avoided taxes and refused to register their dungeons. The head of the National Users Association wonders how it is possible that not a single user noticed anything unusual as the dungeons neared their break. Moreover, the discussion continues as another official mentions that the dungeon breaks happened in broad daylight, right in the middle of the city. Another member of the meeting confirms this, explaining that even after questioning people who had passed by the site, no one had noticed anything unusual before the dungeon break. The head of the officials wonders in confusion whether the dungeons broke open before their usual 30-day limit. Another confirms that this is indeed the case. More murmurs spread among the officials as they start to worry about whether this might happen again soon. The head of the officials doubts whether dungeon patterns have changed. Just then, someone calls attention to the screen, urging everyone to take a look. The investigation takes a turn as the autopsy results come in after a long time due to the damage inflicted by monsters after death. However, despite this, the cause of death for both victims is clear: a stab wound to the chest. Yet, both individuals were not killed by monsters but by a sword. The fact that 2 murders occurred right next to a dungeon break site raises suspicions among the officials. After much discussion, the investigation team reaches a conclusion that there might be a way to forcefully trigger a dungeon break. Meanwhile, the girl sighs in frustration. With no suspects, no motives, and no clear leads, she wonders what more can be done. Civilian control and patrol operations feel useless at this point. This situation keeps her here for quite a while. As she walks, lost in thought, she wonders whether she should involve more freelancer users in the investigation. Just then, another idea hits her. She should ask Mr. Jin for help. She realizes that Mr. Jin might be someone she can truly rely on. Elsewhere, a graduation ceremony is held. Mr. Jin receives an award and certificate, recognized for excellence in performance and outstanding academic achievements throughout the academy's curriculum. He feels frustrated, thinking about how he has no time for celebrations. Meanwhile, an urgent notification appears. Another dungeon break is imminent. A countdown begins, showing 101 hours and 27 minutes left to defeat the monsters that will soon cross over. Jin reflects on why he even attended the ceremony in the first place. If it weren't for the full refund of his tuition, he wouldn't have bothered coming. However, his thoughts are interrupted as Mr. Kim wishes him farewell. Jin expresses that it was a pleasure to have known him. Just then, Seo Yoon approaches, congratulating him on making it to the top. She hands him something. Confused, Jin wonders what it could be. Seo Yoon explains that it's a lucky charm she made herself. She recalls how Jin often complained about his bad luck lately, so she even prayed for it to bring him good fortune. Jin accepts the charm happily. Seo Yoon is happy that he likes it, and then wonders what his next plans are now that graduation is over. Jin thinks, deciding that he will start by raiding some dungeons. Seo Yoon is about to invite him to something when another voice interrupts. Hasek, another friend, waves and greets Jin. Jin wonders how Hasek is feeling after the ceremony, to which Hasek responds, saying he feels great. Hasek excitedly suggests going on a raid together, revealing that he has secured an E-rank dungeon for them. However, Jin politely declines, explaining that he is too busy at the moment. He assures Hasek that he will definitely join next time before he leaves. Afterwards, he regrets not asking Jin to spar with him while they had the chance. Meanwhile, Jin reflects on his decision. He knows that if he asked, both Hasek and Seo Yoon would try to help him without hesitation. However, he does not want to put them in danger. Determined, he accepts that stopping the dungeon break is entirely up to him. 2 days later, Jin finds himself frustrated. This time, there are no provided coordinates for the dungeon break. Going through every dungeon in Gangnam feels inefficient and exhausting, but he acknowledges that the civilian control lines have at least saved him some time. He only needs to focus on areas that aren't crowded with people. He checks the available dungeons in Gangnam, identifying 3 key locations. First, an A-rank dungeon near Seongsu Bridge, named Cobalt Advancing Fortress, which is a defense-type quest. Second, A C-rank dungeon in Nanhyundong called Tarantula Nest is classified as an extermination-type quest. Lastly, a D-rank dungeon in Daichidong, known as Wolf Den Dungeon, is also an extermination-type quest. Jin evaluates his options, and the best way to prevent another dungeon break, he realizes, is to clear all these dungeons himself. Jin reviews that he has no immediate access to any of them. The A-rank and C-rank dungeons have already been purchased by other guilds, and the D-rank one is under the association's control, meaning he can't enter any of them on his own. He thinks about the A-rank dungeon specifically, knowing that defense-type dungeons usually involve massive waves of monsters. This makes it a major threat if left. After that, Jin contacts Ms. Seo. Jin asks Ms. Seo to find him a dungeon in Gangnam. She pauses for a moment before confirming that she has found a D-rank dungeon in the area. He brings up the growing rumors about dungeon breaks happening, emphasizing that if a dungeon is left uncleared in a densely populated area like Gangnam, it could turn into a disaster. He expresses concern for the town, stating that he wouldn't want to see it suffer from a dungeon break. Ms. Seo notices his enthusiasm and wonders whether Gangnam might be his hometown. She then asks about his preferred date for the raid, to which Jin immediately responds with a request for tomorrow morning. She confirms the arrangement, assuring him that someone will be sent to the dungeon entrance at the agreed time. Jin is relieved that he finally has a lead. Meanwhile, Ms. Seo considers whether she should check out Gangnam after work tomorrow. As the countdown continues, only 29 hours and 10 minutes remain. Mr. Jin, in his tactical outfit, wonders if the upcoming threat will be an A-rank or a C-rank enemy. The damage caused by the break makes him believe it is most likely an A-rank threat rather than a weaker one. Mr. Jin checks the time and notices only 10 minutes remain until the break occurs. However, everything around him is quiet. He starts to wonder if it could have been a C-rank dungeon instead. He breathes a sigh of relief, realizing it was a close call, and the call belongs to the association. He wonders if they have arrived for dungeon maintenance. He feels frustrated because he cannot afford to waste any more time dealing with them. Mr. Jin hears a loud noise and reacts with shock that something is happening to the dungeon. Voices from nearby catch his attention. Some people dismiss him, saying the entire place will turn to rubble soon anyway. He then realizes that one of them has used a teleportation scroll. Moreover, the people disguised as association members were actually enemies. However, he managed to catch a glimpse of one of their faces. He observes, revealing details about one of them, Sung Dong-hak, a level 42 individual with various talents, including disguise, sword mastery, and assassination. He also possesses skills such as cloaking, dashing, enchanting poison, and grim sword. With no time to waste, Mr. Jin shifts his focus back to the dungeon break. He quickly uses his ability to summon an ally, calling upon Liu Shan. Liu Shan comments on the dangerous situation. Then, another powerful figure emerges, Lu Bu, also known as Feng Xian. Mr. Jin decides to use the best combination he can at his current level. He urges Liu Shan to picture the most powerful warrior he has ever known, preparing for an ultimate battle. Liu Shan is confused about why he needs to do this. Mr. Jin notices Xiao Yun's lucky charm. A divine energy flows through him as the blessing of the Saintess activates, boosting his luck. A notification appears that the countless possible summon choices have now been narrowed down from billions to just hundreds. With Liu Shan's natural luck combined with Xiao Yun's blessing, the summoning reaches its peak. Another flash of energy bursts forth, and a powerful warrior, the legendary Zhang Yidi, arrives. As soon as he appears, Lion's Roar is activated, weakening the enemies by reducing their attack power by 30%. Zhang Yid laughs and sees countless enemies in front of him and a bridge behind. The situation reminds him of past battles. Meanwhile, Jin Zhengdo, a level 99 individual, monitors the status of his newly summoned ally, Zhang Fei Yide. The stats reveal his strength, showcasing talents such as Unrivaled Warrior, Spear Mastery, and Courage, among many others. His powerful abilities, including Spinning Tiger Chariot Strike and Iron Wall, make him a formidable force. Suddenly, a group of Cobalt warriors appears. At level 53, these humanoid dog-like creatures look fierce and powerful. Zhang Yid is amused by their appearance. However, despite their dog-like features, Mr. Jin knows these enemies are no joke. To Zhang Yid, these Cobalt warriors are nothing more than a few mongrels. He laughs loudly, enjoying the battle. Mr. Jin's skill Unrivaled Warrior activates, fueling his stamina as he faces multiple enemies alone. Afterwards, he unleashes Spinning Tiger Chariot Strike. The force of his attack sends shockwaves, cutting down enemies in every direction. The King of All Weapons skill restores an ancient weapon, enhancing each strike with devastating splash damage. Zhang Yidi marvels at its sheer destructive force. Even if 1,000,000 enemies stood before him, he is confident that none would stand a chance against this masterpiece of destruction. However, Mr. Jin notices that time is running out. He further notices that while the number of Cobalt warriors on the battlefield has decreased, More are still pouring in from the dungeon, and the boss monster has yet to appear. He decides to thin the herd as much as possible. With every attack, the splash damage from his strikes takes down multiple Cobalt warriors at once. The thrill of combat fuels Zhang Yide, making him feel more alive than ever. He is frustrated that he doesn't have a physical body of his own. He turns back, realizing an enemy is trying to strike from behind. Despite his strength, he begins to feel the toll of the fight. He acknowledges that his lack of experience is holding him back. No matter how powerful his summoned heroes are, he still has much to learn. He wonders if, one day, he will become strong enough to stand on his own, without relying on the legendary warriors he summons. Zhang Yide feels strange. He turns to Mr. Jin and asks him if he feels it too. Zhang Yide senses a massive wave of enemies approaching. However, he knows this is where his time in the battle ends. He wonders if Jin Jungdo will be able to handle things alone. Jin Jungdo stands firm. He has no intention of backing down because he fully believes in his victory. Seeing this confidence, Zhang Yide feels proud. He encourages Jin and looks forward to hearing about the battle when they meet again. As Zhang Yide fades away, a notification appears, granting Jin a reward. He gains a portion of the summoned being's abilities, increasing his mana, strength, stamina, reflexes, and sensitivity. Additionally, he unlocks a new skill, Lion's Roar. Without wasting time, Jin prepares for his second summoning card. Lushan hopes to meet again. Jin is grateful for Lushan's previous assistance and believes her help will be needed once more. Lushan laughs, reassuring Jin that she is always ready for battle. Jin Jungdo activates Draw of Fate, a powerful ability that allows him to summon rare or legendary heroes. He has already used this skill 9 times in preparation, ensuring that his 10th draw will be something special. However, disappointment hits him for a moment. He was aiming for a diamond card, but he did not get one this time. Instead, he draws Clarent, the King's Sword, a weapon that decreases the opponent's stats by 10%. A notification confirms that he has unlocked the Clarent skill. Clarent was one of the 3 swords owned by King Arthur, yet ironically, it was the very sword that ended his life. Sir Mordred, Arthur's son and the infamous Knight of Treason, was the one who killed him with it. Jin wonders nervously if Mordred will remain loyal or if history will repeat itself. He then checks his summoned ally's status. Mordred, now at level 81, possesses powerful talents such as Defiance, Chivalry, and Sword Mastery. His stats are impressive, with high strength, reflex, and mana sensitivity. His abilities include Enchant Weapon, Spiral Pierce, and Ignition Sword, making him a formidable fighter. Just as Jin prepares for battle, a new enemy appears, the Cobalt Leader of the Abyss. Its level matches Mordred's at 81, making it clear that this will be a difficult fight. Jin quickly realizes that victory won't come easily. Jin swings Clarent, the King's Sword, with great force. The attack is so strong that it shocks Jin Jungdo. He can't believe so much damage came from just one hit. Mordred explains that Clarent is powerful, but it takes a long time to use again. Before they can react, the Cobalt Leader of the Abyss becomes angry because its minions were defeated so easily. Jin quickly understands that this fight is dangerous. The monster is just as strong as him. Worse, time is running out and Jin's mana is almost gone. He knows he must finish the fight quickly. If he does not, he will die. Jin and the Cobalt Leader of the Abyss fight hard in the battle. Mordred tells Jin to breathe and stay focused, but Jin is determined to end the fight while he still has an advantage and attacks, thinking he has won. But suddenly the enemy strikes back. Jin is hit hard, pain rushing through his body. Mordred yells in shock, not understanding why Jin got hurt. A bright light surrounds him as Dragon Blood Awakening activates. His wounds heal instantly, enemy attacks stop for a while, and his power increases greatly. Jin Jungdo feels relieved as Dragon Blood Awakening makes him stronger. At first, he was worried because this skill is dangerous, but now he sees there is nothing to fear. With his power boosted, he is sure he can finish the fight. Miss Seo senses a strange feeling. She senses a dungeon break happening nearby. Without wasting time, she runs toward the location, hoping other users are already there fighting the monsters. But when she arrives, she is shocked. The battle is already over. She wonders if he somehow stopped the dungeon break himself. Then she hears a voice. Mr. Jin stands nearby and asks her to help clean up the area. Before she can reply, he calmly mentions that he killed all 311 monsters alone. Miss Seo freezes in disbelief, realizing that Jin defeated every monster alone. Jin Jungdo hears voices shouting, as people rush to get him to a hospital. His body feels weak. Everything that just happened still feels unreal. As he checks his status window, he is shocked. His level is now 14, but what surprises him most are his stats. His strength, stamina, and reflexes have all increased by 10 points. He also sees that he has unlocked a total of 10 powerful skills, including Dragon Blood Awakening, Lion's Roar, and Summon Ally. Jin wonders how he became so strong in just one night. His stats alone are now at the level of a B-rank user. Other users would do anything to gain just one new skill, yet he now has 10. Jin Jungdo still feels weak from the after effects of Dragon Blood Awakening, but inside, he is excited. If he weren't so exhausted, he would be jumping with joy. Moreover, he knows for sure that he is getting stronger. Just then, a voice calls out from outside his room. Seo Sangi introduces herself and asks if she can come in. Jin allows her in, realizing that it is time to face whatever comes next. She tells Jin that everyone was extremely worried after he collapsed. He looks at her and thinks that she must have stayed up all night cleaning up the aftermath of the battle. Seo Sangi then bows deeply and sincerely thanks Jin. Because of him, thousands of lives were saved when he stopped the dungeon break. Jin feels a little embarrassed and responds that he only did what anyone else would have done in that situation. However, Seo Sangi brings up something important. She mentions the Seongsu Bridge security camera footage and then carefully asks if he got a good look at the culprits' faces. She reassures him that he can ask anything. She is willing to do her best to help with the investigation. Seo Sangi thanks him for understanding. Jin Jungdo explains that by the time he arrived, the culprits had already used a teleportation scroll to escape. However, he is certain that both of them were male. Seo Sangi takes notes as he speaks, repeating the detail, 2 males with a teleportation scroll. Jin secretly knows their personal information, but he decides not to reveal it yet. If he did, it would raise suspicion. Seo Sangi then asks another question. She points out how perfect his timing was, almost as if he had been waiting for the incident to happen. Jin realizes that she is sharp. He confidently responds that it was just a coincidence. He reminds her that he had spent the day raiding dungeons in Gangnam and was simply heading home when he ran into the situation by chance. To support his claim, he suggests checking security footage from the surrounding area. If he had been waiting there on purpose, the cameras would have caught it. Seo Sangi bows slightly and apologizes if her questions felt like an interrogation. She explains that they are struggling to find answers. Jin reassures her, even admits that he had been careful to walk along blind spots that day, in case something like this happened. Then he takes his turn to ask a question. He directly asks if the Karma Guild is behind the attack. Seo Sangi pauses before answering and explains that while they don't have proof yet, the Karma Guild is their prime suspect. Jin thinks about this and concludes that the first 2 dungeon breaks were likely just test runs, leading up to the main attack that happened yesterday. Seo Sangi explains that due to the Karma Guild's size and careful planning, they are still searching for concrete evidence to confirm their involvement. In the meantime, they have strengthened patrol operations to prevent further attacks. Then she suddenly brings up something else. His loot. Jin's eyes widened. He almost forgot about that. Seo Sangi informs him that the 311 monster corpses and the spoils he mentioned earlier are currently being held by the association. Since it's a huge amount to sort through alone, she suggests hiring an auction company to handle it for him. Jin is surprised by the idea. Seo Sangi explains that monster corpses are highly valuable and used in various ways, so they will sell out quickly. The association will also cover any extra charges made during the process, ensuring he gets maximum profit. Hearing this, Jin realizes that he is about to make a fortune. He thanks her sincerely for looking out for him. She tells him that it's nothing compared to what he has done for them. Before leaving, she wishes him a good rest and tells him that he is always welcome to visit the association whenever he needs help. Jin thinks about the huge amount of money he is about to make. But suddenly, a voice interrupts. He is shocked to see Winry Makina standing there. He wonders why she is here. Winry explains that she has come to reward him. A reward from the real universe. Jin is stunned. A reward from the real universe? Winry then asks what kind of reward he would like. However, she warns him that she can't promise to grant just anything, but she will try her best. He excitedly asks for either his mana to be increased to 999 or the ability to use skills without consuming mana. Winry immediately denies both requests, calling them way too over the top. Jin is disappointed, but Winry understands what he really wants. More mana to use his draw skills. Jin responds by saying that's exactly it. The good draws not only give him stat boosts, but also grant him free skills. Winry tells Jin that she will grant him a way to use more draws. Jin wonders if she is finally going to increase his mana capacity like he asked, but Winry utters no. Instead, she flips a small object in her hand and presents it to him. Jin looks down and sees a ticket. Moreover, he is confused and wonders what it is for. Winry explains that it is a single-use ticket for Draw of Fate. She then adds that the ticket can actually be purchased. Jin then immediately asks how much it costs. He wonders if he has to pay with mana stones, but Winry reveals the true price, the stats he has earned. Jin quickly pulls up his observation window to check his stats. Right now, he has 41 strength, 48 stamina, and 51 reflexes. Winry then clarifies that 1 stat point can be used to buy 1 Draw of Fate ticket. He worked so hard to increase his stats. Frustrated, he wonders why she set it up this way. But Winry reminds him that his luck when using Draw of Fate is actually very good. If someone else used 10 stat points to draw and did not get a golden card or above, they would be at a huge loss. But for Jin, it's different. Every 10th draw guarantees a rare rank or above for him. And out of 30 total draws, he has already pulled 3 diamond cards. As she steps forward, she adds that he even managed to get several golden cards on top of that. Jin may not realize it yet, but his luck makes him truly special. Winry is absolutely certain that Jin will become a formidable warrior in no time. As Jin tells Winry that she is right, he's interrupted by Winry confirming that she is right and giving him his prize. After seeing this sudden enthusiasm in Winry, Jin asks her if she is getting anything if he pays with his stats. Winry does not answer Jin's question and tells him that she is tired and should get going. As Jin asks Winry to wait, Seo-yoon knocks on the door from behind and asks Jin if she could come in. Jin tells her yes. Seo-yoon tells Jin that the association told her everything and asks Jin if he's hurt. Jin assures her that he's not hurt and that he's only exhausted. Seo-yoon, relieved, tells him she is glad to hear that. After that, Jin asks Seo-yoon if she would like to form a team with him. Seo-yoon stands silent, kind of shocked, as Jin continues to say that he knows the large guilds are offering her a spot. Seo-yoon, very excited by the offer, tells him that she'd like that very much and that she will start making preparations right away and runs off. Later on, Jin, staring at his stats board, contemplates whether he should use it or not and taps Purchase. The purchase screen appears, offering the same number of additional tickets for the tickets purchased, and this seems like a good deal to Jin. While Jin worries about getting addicted, another offer with the same number of additional tickets appears. Jin uses 10 of his stats for 30 fate tickets. He looks around to see if anyone saw him and continues using the tickets he just bought. After using the 17th ticket, Jin thinks to himself that something should come up now. The 20th draw and still no diamond. As Jin curses the odds for not getting a diamond, he hopes the 29th is the one. Liu Shan appears, asking Jin why he has a long face today. Jin tells Liu Shan he realized he's nothing without her. In the final draw, with Liu Shan's luck, Jin hopes to get a diamond this time. As Jin uses the final card, he hears a voice calling him to wake up. Jin walks out, and Ms. Seo, standing at the door, asks him if he's okay. Jin tells her everything's fine, and that he just had too many bad dreams. Jin thinks to himself that it's a good thing he can only purchase 10 tickets a week, or else he would have wasted all his stats on those things yesterday. Ms. Seo asks Jin to follow her through the door, and Jin follows. As Jin takes a look around, Ms. Seo tells him this is where they keep preserved monster corpses and Jin's loot. She further tells him that the ones that are too damaged for commercial use have been sorted out. Ms. Seo points toward loot items and tells Jin that the items with magic powers are kept separately. She asks Jin to take a look at the items and decide whether or not he's going to sell them. Jin picks up a pair of gloves, surprised by the gloves' ability to boost mana, and realizes that such items are hard to come by. Happy with the perfect fit, Jin tells Ms. Seo that the gloves are not for sale. In the meantime, Ms. Seo receives a call and tells Jin that the guild that used to own the dungeon where the break happened wants to see him. Jin, surprised by this, reconfirms with Ms. Seo and asks if they really want to see him. Jin wonders why they would want to see him. Ms. Seo explains that it could be because they want him as one of their members, but it is more likely that they are here to claim his loot. This shocks Jin, and Ms. Seo tells him not to worry because she will defend his rightful ownership, even if it means putting her reputation on the line. Jin thanks Ms. Seo and walks through the door. They are both greeted by a man who introduces himself as Kim Sunsu from the K&M Guild. Ms. Seo introduces herself and Jin as the one who took care of the incident. Ms. Seo asks Kim Sunsu if he wants to know what really happened. Kim says yes. After all, they did lose a perfectly fine dungeon, and they want some convincing evidence that helps justify their dungeon being gone. For example, security camera footage. Ms. Seo refuses, as it is beyond her authority because that would be giving out personal information, and she would need the individual's permission to do so. Meanwhile, Jin is trying to avoid telling people about his abilities as much as possible, but he has no other choice. Mr. Kim, with a mischievous smile, insists that he understands no user would want to expose their secret abilities to a third party and proposes a sparring session as an alternative. If Mr. Kim thinks Jin is good enough to stop a dungeon break all by himself, he'll let Jin keep all his rewards. However, Jin gets suspicious and thinks something is not right with this guy, and wonders why a guild scouter wants to start a fight just to find out how strong a user is. Jin checks Kim's stats and recognizes his name and tells him that he will have to discuss it with Ms. Seo first. Jin and Ms. Seo go to a soundproofed place. Jin scans Ms. Seo's stats and sees loyalty as a talent and thinks this makes her reliable. He tells Ms. Seo he's about to tell her some private information and requests her to keep it a secret. Ms. Seo agrees, as it's the association's duty to protect the information of users. Jin states he bets having loyalty as a talent must help her get the job done. Surprised, Ms. Seo asks how. Jin tells her it's a special skill called observation, and it allows him to observe just about anything, like people's names, talents, and even their skill levels. Impressed and shocked, Ms. Seo wonders why Jin is telling her such a huge secret. Jin asserts that from what he observed, that man wasn't Kim Sun-soo, and his real name is Sung Dong-hak, and he's one of the people who were there when the break began. Jin tells her he's not comfortable letting someone know about his abilities, but he can't just ignore the fact that a terrorist is right in front of him. Jin asks if she'll have to report his observation skill to prove that he's a terrorist. Ms. Seo tells him no because she suspects there's a mole in the association, and the executives refuse to take any action despite the calamities, and the breaks are happening exactly after the association's patrol hours. Ms. Seo tells Jin not to trust anyone because telling people about his skill will put him in danger. Jin proposes to prove that Kim is a terrorist without telling the association about his skill. Jin tells Kim that they've decided against sparring and will just show his skill. Kim is happy with this choice as it allows him to gather more info on Jin. Jin summons Jenna the Truthful, stats-wise useless, but she has her own unique skill, the skill of truth. They enter Jenna's room of truth. Jin asks Ms. Seo to repeat "I am a man" to demonstrate Jenna's skill. When Ms. Seo can't repeat the words, Jin tells Kim he's next and asks him to repeat "I am Kim Sung-soo." Kim Sung-soo struggles to repeat the words because of Jenna the Truthful's ability. Jin mockingly conveys that this is a better idea than rudely challenging someone to a duel. Jin proposes that if Kim can answer at all, he will give him everything he's got and anything that Kim wants from him. Jin confronts Kim and asks him how that is for motivation, but Kim is speechless. After all, his secret is about to be revealed. Upon hearing Jin repeat Kim's real name, Sung Dong-hak, Sung curses out of fury and charges at Jin with a dagger, thinking his cloaking ability would make it really easy to kill any S-rank. Ms. Seo runs to stop Sung, and as he's about to attack Jin, Ms. Seo throws Sung sliding across the room with just a kick. Ms. Seo takes off Sung's face skin, while telling Jin that he had almost convinced her because he had Kim Sung-soo's mana watch on him. Ms. Seo tells Jin that they will go through the standard procedure to get any information from Sung Dong-hak. Jin offers to help in the matter and uses his observation skill to get the information. The observation shows that Sung Dong-hak murdered Kim Sung-soo 2 days ago and presents Sung as a Karma Guild member, confirming Jin's suspicion. Meanwhile, a Karma Guild member reports losing contact with Sung at the association and suggests that he must have been caught and asks the leader if there's been any contact from the association. The leader pleads that's all he's got, as Seo Sang-hee keeps everything classified. The member suggests that Sung is not easy to crack, and the leader agrees, but suggests that they'll have to get rid of him just in case. Another member asks what they are going to do with Jin, as he's the one who stopped the break. The other members argue that Jin's name is all they know and wonder if he's one of the association's secret S-rank users, because how could an E-rank user clear an A-rank dungeon? While everyone argues, one points out that Jin is the same boy from the academy incident, and another member objects to it as irrelevant because he just happened to be there with their target Kim Sung-tae. One of the members utters Sung mentioned that someone was waiting by the dungeon as if they knew about the break and suggests everyone focus on the leak on the inside. The guild members get confused. The hooded boy tells everyone to stop investigating Jin for now, but one objects, saying how he could let Jin go considering all the resources and time spent on the break. The leader tells one they have very little information on Jin, and his skills seem to match an S-rank user, suggesting that the revenge would come at a cost. He suggests taking out Seo Sang-hee instead to make it easier to attack the association. He further tells One that the break was his responsibility, and the One is not pleased with the failure of the break. One is filled with fury, refusing to sit idle when Jin is the reason the One is upset with him. And with this anger, One makes it his responsibility to take down Jin Jung-do. Miss Seo tells Jin that Sung Dong-hak is still keeping silent, and there's been no progress with the interrogation, so she asks the association for permission to use some unorthodox methods, but because of the mole, she couldn't get one. She thinks they're just worried he might die and tells Jin that once they get Sung to talk, they can get him banned from Korea forever. Miss Seo tells Jin that the tax rate is higher than expected in the market due to a high value of items, and suggests that Jin should increase his user rank instead, because the higher the rank, the less tax Jin has to pay. Miss Seo takes Jin to the test room and tells him that because he cleared an A-rank dungeon, he can apply for the B-rank test. If the instructor approves, Jin's rank will be increased immediately. Miss Seo encounters Jang Shul-san, her old teacher, who's excited to see her after ages. Ms. Seo tells him he could have visited her if he really missed her. Jang asks Seo what she's doing here, and Seo tells him she's here because Jin wants to take a B-rank test, since it's the highest Jin can go due to insufficient dungeons cleared. Jang, surprised because Seo rarely compliments anyone, decides to take the test himself since he was getting bored. Jin shows his gratitude for the chance to fight an S-rank instructor and loads his talents. Jin checks his stats in-game after quite a while. The stats should be doubled. Jin's in-game reflex should be 100, but instead, it shows 99, which surprises Jin, and he wonders if it is his game talent limitation or some other limitation he's not aware of. Jang compliments Jin's spear as a choice of weapon and hits his hammer down, cracking the ground beneath him, and suggests the cheesy cliché line that a real man uses a hammer. Jang, being an S-rank tester, lets Jin take the first blow and tells him to give it his best. Jin, without hesitating, points his spear toward the instructor and charges at him. Jang effortlessly blocks the attack with his hammer and throws Jin into the air with one blow. Impressed with just one strike from Jin, Jang passes him, telling Jin that just his first blow was enough to take down an A-rank user, and he must have learned from the best. Jin, remembering his teachers, agrees. However, Jang states that it would be a shame to end it like this, suggesting to continue the sparring session. Jang swings his hammer, Jin dodges with a slide, Jang strikes again, and Jin dodges another with a leap, causing Jang to slam the hammer into the ground. Jin takes his shot, but Jang effortlessly dodges. After all, he's a highly skilled user. Jang notices Jin being faster than earlier. Jin, doubting his skills outside of the game, takes another blow at Jang. With the exchange of the blows and clashes of weapons, Jang tells Jin he has amazing physical performance but lacks experience, as if he did not earn his talent, and mocks Jin for his game talent. Jang notices an opportunity to strike and takes advantage of Jin's open posture. Jang kicks him, throwing Jin sliding on the ground. Jang stands over Jin lying on the ground and charges his hammer but decides to hit the ground instead, sparing Jin. Jang cuts the fight short and lends a hand to Jin. Jin wonders how he knows about his game talent, and Jang tells him there had been users that became significantly stronger when put in a virtual mana session. However, none of them were capable of clearing an A-rank dungeon like Jin. Jang tells Jin he'll see him outside and leaves the game. Ms. Seo congratulates Jin for clearing the B-rank test and asks Jang what he thought of Jin. Jang tells her how that's the most fun he's had, and he will probably see Jin again soon. As Jang is about to leave, Ms. Seo stops him, holding his hand, suggesting a sparring session to allow her teacher to see how much she has improved during that time. As Jin walks out of the association's building, he sees Seo Yoon waiting for him. Seo Yoon tries to act normal, hiding the fact that she is nervous so that Jin wouldn't think she is an amateur. Haesik soon joins in too, and they plan to clear a dungeon that Haesik found. Jin tells Seo Yoon that the dungeon is in Suwon Fortress. Jin steps through the portal, stabbing one of the monsters without any effort, and realizes he could clear the dungeon in minutes. However, Jin's goal today is not to clear the dungeon, but to train Seo Yoon and Haesik so they can fight properly. Jin is impressed seeing Seo Yoon kill the monsters with little effort and thinks she would make a great battle monk or a priestess. Haesik notices Seo Yoon staring at him all day and asks Jin if he did something wrong. Jin tells him it's probably because he's slow to catch on. At last, after clearing the ground, they stand at the door to the boss room. Jin tells his teammates that he'll stay out of their way as much as possible to let them take it down on their own. As from what Jin observed, they can definitely take it down. Jin opens the gate, and the monsters stand on the other side of the room. A monster jumps in, but Haesik blocks the blows with his shield. Jin thinks about attacking the boss while Seo Yoon supports, but Seo Yoon takes a leap forward, knocking down the monster. Jin and Haesik stand shocked by Seo Yoon's performance. Jin Jungdo appreciates his team members for the great work they did. Haesik questions him where to go next. Maybe the association, so they can reset their stats. But he denies that he has some personal work to look after, so he wants Seo Yoon and Haesik to go there, so they both went. Louis Shan gets very excited after seeing the castle and asks Jin Jungdo, "Is that the place where they are going to play?" But before playing, Jin Jungdo wants to ask her if she remembers the first time he asked her to think of the mightiest warrior ever at the bridge. She replies that it is misunderstood, as it is not Zhang Fei she thought of, but it is Cao Cao. Back in the day, he was the best warrior she had seen. Jin Jungdo thanked her. Jin Jungdo, in her mind, is thinking that the reason she drew Zhang Fei that night is not because Louis Shan is thinking of him as Zhang Fei on the Changban Bridge, of course. He draws the fate and gets a diamond card but is quite shocked as nothing is happening. Young Yakyong claims to Jin Jungdo about how much he missed him. On the other hand, he introduces himself to the Sir that he is Jin Jungdo and that there are some very low stats for a diamond card. Young Yakyong likes his name pretty much, and as they both are in Hwaseong, he questions Jin Jungdo if he wants to have some treasures he hid there, which makes Jin Jungdo very excited, and he agrees. He tells Jin Jungdo that when His Majesty ordered him to make that place, he was very stoked, and he had intricate mandalas drawn there. He also built some secret places and so on. He wants Jin Jungdo to look at the 7th brick from the bottom right corner of the main gate. Jin Jungdo starts looking for it, and then he is told to look for the 616th brick starting from there and inject some chi into that, and then look for the 922nd brick from the 7th brick starting from the bottom left corner of the gate. Jin Jungdo starts sweating and questions him if there is any hidden meaning in any of those numbers, as it's so complex. He is told that the former is his sir's birthday and the latter is the king's birthday. Jin Jungdo succeeds in finding the bricks, and then he injects chi in there, and suddenly a treasure dungeon comes in front of him, which is Jung Yakyong's treasure dungeon, so he commands Jin Jungdo to pass the dungeon, and he is going to get Jung Yakyong's treasures. Jin Jungdo questions him if he thinks that his successors could find that dungeon at all. As he agrees when Jungdo remarks it is hard, he reminds Jin Jungdo that he also did find it, and wants him to get inside there. They went inside, and Jung Yakyong explained to him that he is going to be awarded after passing the gatekeeper's test of mind and might, and asks him to call for him when he gets the reward, and then disappears. Jin Jungdo finds something there which skill seekers use to find dungeons, which is going to help him a lot. The test begins by testing his mind. The question he is asked is that the moon shines upon the rivers of the land, and there the rivers are the people, and the moon is absolute, so he has to tell what does absolute represent there. He answers that it's simple, as it is King Jungjo, as Jung Yakyong is loyal to his king, which is a correct answer. And then it's time to test his might. He is asked to raise his weapons, and he is given level 40, which seems easy to him, as it has the similar stats he has. He starts attacking Jin Jungdo, but the attack power is only 10%, which is maybe because of the level difference. He finds Jin Jungdo a fast human, but not that enough, so Jungdo threatens him to dodge the Viridian Dragon Steps, which kind of hurts him, but Jin Jungdo threatens him that it is only the start he has taken. The monster thinks that humans have wicked weapons which change shape and size, but Jin Jungdo makes him realize that we are even better than that. This keeps going, but at last he loses and announces that Jungdo has passed the test of might too. The wall breaks, and there is a hidden room inside. Jin Jungdo goes inside and some kind of envelopes are there on the table. Jung Yakyong comes there. Jin Jungdo reminds him that he has told him to summon him when he finds the reward, and he is very cost-effective mana-wise for a diamond card. Jung Yakyong knows that Jin Jungdo is going to pass his test. He wants Jungdo to pick up the Magwa Hotong, which is a book on measles, first, so he agrees and picks up one. When he opens that, he gets a notification to unlock Magwa Hotong. Jung Yakyong explains to him that the book is on the symptoms and cure for measles, because of which he lost his 6 children, and he wrote that to help the people of Joseon after an extensive period of research. Skill Magwa Hotong, skill resistance, merging skills and poison immunity skill are unlocked for Jin Jungdo, which means he is impervious to any kind of disease or poison. The next is Abangang Yoko, which is a book examining the territories of Joseon. Jung Yakyong explains to him that it is his geographical research of the peninsula, which is based on historical records and personal experiences with traveling, that is going to improve Jin Jungdo's range of sight. Skill Abangang Yoko, detection skill, merging skill using game and skill dungeon map is unlocked for Jungdo, which means all the dungeons within a certain radius are going to show on a mini-map, and the notifications are adjustable so that they can be turned on or off. Jin Jungdo is excited, as from then on, he doesn't have to waste his time looking for dungeons anymore. And now the last thing is adjusting Yuhyungo and Jeojungi to user preferences. Yuhyungo is a cart used to construct the Hwashong Fortress, and Jeojungi is a device used to construct the Hwashong Fortress. Skill inventory is unlocked for him. He questions if this is the one like in video games, and he gives it a try. Jung Yakyong asks him if that is all helpful. Jin Jungdo thanks him as he is overwhelmed by all that, and they both greet each other until they meet next time. Jin Jungdo wants to have a look at what he earned that day, and it is poison immunity, inventory, and dungeon map, which are all awesome skills. The 2 skills are quite obvious to him, but he is not sure about the dungeon map and wants to have a look at that. He finds himself there in the center in the map and thinks that the marks around him must be the dungeons. And there's only one way to find out, and suddenly another dungeon is in front of him, but it seems to be taken, so he have a look to the Green Point dungeon, which is a C rank dungeon, and the yellow one is a B rank dungeon, and he guesses that the color to rank order is like the colors of rainbow, but he did not want the dungeon which are already been taken, so he looks for the notification window and switches it on, so he is going to be notified whenever there is a new dungeon, which makes him pretty much excited. With a final blow, Jungdo takes down the boss as it hits the floor in front of Seoyun and Haishik. A medium-rate antidote orb drops as a reward. Jungdo thinks that he won't need it since he has poison immunity, but he still grabs it. Haishik and Seoyun both smile with happiness as Seoyun states that they cleared this D-rank dungeon like how they cleared the E-rank one, to which Jungdo adds that it's all thanks to them anyway. Just then, Haishik comes forward and asks if they have any plans for tonight. Both Seoyun and Jungdo wait for a second. Then he meekly informs him that there is not much planned, but he figures that he will go hit the training room, to which Seoyun also nods in agreement, stating that she would probably do the same. Haeshik then asks them with excitement, then why don't they come over to his place? Because he got his own training room, and he also owns a virtual mana. With a shocked look, Jungdo asks him, aren't there only a handful of mana virtuals around the world? To which Haeshik meekly nods, saying yes. Jungdo starts thinking about how Haeshik bought all the rights to all of the dungeons they cleared, thinking just how rich he really is. Haeshik scratches his neck as he admits that it is a bit embarrassing to tell them, but his brother, who he lives with, is loaded with money. Jungdo hears his confession and nods. Haeshik continues and tells them that when he told his brother about him and Seoyun, he said that he really wanted to meet them in person. Jungdo looks at Seoyun as she nods. Then he turns at Haeshik, giving him a smile. He adds, in that case, it would be nice to meet his family as the leader of this team. Haeshik claps in excitement as he states that he will have a car ready as soon as they get out of this dungeon. They all sit comfortably in a limousine arranged by Haeshik. As they reach their destination, Jungdo looks at a huge apartment building with countless floors. He asks Haeshik if his apartment is in this building, and Haeshik nonchalantly replies that, in fact, this entire building is his. They get on the elevator as Jungdo starts wondering what his brother could do for a living to afford all of this. They reach the penthouse, and as the elevator stops, a young man with striking blonde locks just like Haeshik's comes approaching them. He greets them with a smile and claims that it's nice to finally meet them. At last he introduces himself, stating that he is Haeshik's brother, Kang Haejun. Just as Jungdo bows at him to introduce himself in return, the realization settles in as his eyes flash with excitement, thinking of Haejun as one of the only 8 SSS-Rank users in the world. Jungdo turns back at Haeshik, who is just smiling at him, and inquires, why didn't he tell him about his brother sooner? Haeshik replies that Haejun didn't want them to feel uncomfortable. Jungdo, still in shock, replies that Haejun is still an SS-Rank user. Haejun just looks at Jungdo for a while as he speaks, and Jungdo looks very familiar to him. Jungdo instantly goes into a fight-or-flight mode, thinking about where Haejun could possibly have seen him. Haejun comes in front of him and suddenly beams with excitement as he asks, isn't Jungdo the pro gamer who went by the name Rightway? Then he holds his hands, barely containing his excitement. Jungdo asks him how he knew about that, and it was during his gamer days. To which Haejun just yells even more, exclaiming that he was such a big fan of him and calls him Mr. Rightway. Haeshik looks at the scene as he questions it, but Seoyun just looks even more proud and states that she can see his brother is a man of good taste. Haejun then invites them to sit and relax in the living room and serves them tea, cupcakes, and more sweet delights. Haejun states that he still remembers how Rightway took out his opponent with a single combo in the 3rd game of the 2020 Spring Season Finals. Then Seoyun adds with even more excitement, saying that game was legendary, but she thinks he was at his best during the 2021 summer season. Haejun adds that yes, his winning rate was unprecedented, and it was a shame how he lost the finals, although he was so close, and Jungdo just sits there with his head down in sheer embarrassment. Haeshik asks him what they are talking about and if he was a professional fighter or something. Jungdo replies with a blush that he used to be a pro gamer when he was young and that it's nothing big. Just then, on cue, Haejun springs from his seat as he angrily asks what he means by nothing big. And it's quite the contrary, because while other players' plays were merely based on calculations, Jungdo led his with courage and pure passion, which made all of our hearts pound, and calls him Mr. Rightway again, saying that he was the biggest of them all, and that was what made him become the very first member to join his fan page. Jungdo blushes even more as he meekly tells him to stop. Just then, Seoyun springs from her position as she claims that she is the one who created that fan page. Jungdo yells at them to stop finally. Seoyun looks at the clock, saying that she has to head out now. Haeshik tells them that he will get a cab for her. That leaves only Haejun and Jungdo alone. Haejun suddenly bows at him, saying that he forgot to thank him for saving his brother's life. He waves his hand in embarrassment, saying that he was lucky to do so. Haejun looks at him as he praises that Jungdo has such a humble character, and he will make sure to train Haeshik so that he doesn't get in his way. Jungdo thinks that he still can't believe that he is talking to a SS-Rank user and wonders what his stats would look like. He moves forward with his idea as all the necessary information comes in front of him about Haejun. Suddenly, Jungdo looks at Haejun having talent, game at level 3. Just then a notification appears stating that communication level 3 has detected game level 3, and talent communication starts forcefully syncing at level 2. Jungdo feels like he is on fire as energy starts rushing through him. He wonders that what is going on. Just then, Machina appears in front of her as she greets him with a smile. She tells him that she has paused time to talk to him for a moment. He glances at Haejun and finds him still. She starts saying that thank goodness she came on time and she had come just a second late. He would be in pieces right now. Youngdo looks at her with shock and asks if she is talking about his body turning in pieces. To make Youngdo's confusion go away, Makina begins explaining to him that his level 3 talent, communication, is forcing his level 2 talent to level up, and this makes Youngdo's eyes widen in shock as he asks her in confusion if she means that his talent is about to level up, and if it is not supposed to be a good thing. To this, Makina answers him that a talent is like the fate that binds one from their birth to death, and when such an important change occurs, it might change the person's life completely and forever, usually to the extent a normal human being's body could never take. Youngdo gets scared at the information, whereas Makina takes out a shining crystal necklace, telling him that this is why she has come to give him this, and it makes Youngdo's eyes shine in astonishment. She then describes the necklace to him, that it will prevent his body from being destroyed during the synchronization process, and it also has a small luck boost. Youngdo gets really mesmerized by the necklace's attributes, and immediately puts it on himself with anxiousness, asking her if he put it on right, to which she confirms by adding that he will not have to worry about it being cut off or stolen because it has been enchanted. At last, Makina bows to him and asks him to please keep it on him for now, as she will go back and look for a safer way for him to level up. And with that, she disappears back again. As soon as she goes away, the time resumes, and continuing his conversation, Hejun exclaims in glee that he must say he is having the best day of his life as Youngdo's fan. Youngdo then tells him that he bets Hejun is a really good gamer himself and thinks that of course he is, since Hejun's game talent is at level 3. Youngdo then asks him if he has ever considered going pro, which makes Hejun even more impressed by Youngdo and wonders if maybe professionals do recognize gamers when they see one. He then replies that he does enjoy playing games himself, but not as much as he enjoys watching people play games. For example, he is playing through an RPG game these days that is just painfully boring. Youngdo laughs at it and tells Hejun that at least he is an SS-Rank user, to which Hejun laughs as well, saying he guesses there is a difference between being good at something and enjoying it, so Youngdo agrees. Meanwhile, Haeshik comes back after seeing off Seoyun and looks at the two in surprise as they have gotten along quite well. At night, when Youngdo uses the connection gacha, Liu Shan is also present with him when Youngdo exclaims his happiness on getting 2 golden cards in a row. On being so lucky, he kisses his necklace, saying that this necklace is doing its job, whereas Liu Shan gets angry and yells, asking what about his contribution of luck, as he certainly did better than a necklace. When Liu Shan insists so, Youngdo grabs him jokingly and tries kissing him, saying that all right, here is a thank you kiss for him too, which Liu Shan rather resists disgustingly. Suddenly a gacha, a lady with the lamp nightingale appears and proposes to them that she hopes she is not disturbing them two during their private time. So Youngdo throws Liu Shan back in the air and runs to her, telling her that it is nothing like that. He then observes her and realizes that her nursing skills will be of great use in emergencies, and her mana consumption is also very low, so he won't have trouble summoning her with his mana either. Youngdo then excitedly stares at his status window, saying that he feels a jackpot is in store for him tonight, and adds that he does not have any more mana for the draw of fate. However, he suddenly jumps in happiness, saying that it does not matter since he can now purchase it away as he does so, and his strength decreases by 1 for purchasing. He turns to Liu Shan and tells him that he trusts Liu Shan has got his back, to which Liu Shan agrees nervously due to pressure. Another gacha flies in the air while Youngdo yells in excitement. However, once again, Liu Shan Gongxi strengthens by 3, and his level increases. Youngdo grits his teeth in annoyance, to which Liu Shan reminds him about why he is so disappointed since Youngdo's stats also increase when he levels up. Upon realizing it, Youngdo notices his increased stats in the status window, and nervously laughing, he points at the information gacha while apologizing to Liu Shan and states to, "Let's do that free information draw and call it a day." The information capsules rattle inside, and 1 purple capsule falls, which looks dangerous, and even when it displays the information, its window is red. Youngdo's eyes widen, and he exclaims in shock after reading the information and instantly sprints away. When Liu Shan looks at the information, it is a danger alert informing that Seo Sang-hee will be caught in a life-threatening situation in 3 hours. Sang-hee is at her workplace, where a man informs her that someone broke into Sung Dong-hak's cell and murdered him. Moreover, there is no evidence found on site, and the security footage was deleted, so they believe that it was an inside job. Sang-hee gets seriously worried about the situation and thinks that the culprit must be a very influential person within the association to be this bold. As she thinks about what she should do to find the person out, the telephone rings. Putting it on speaker, the person on the other side reminds her that it is time for the regular patrol around that A-rank dungeon. She quickly puts on her coat and strides away, telling the man standing there to let's talk about this after she gets back, so the man tells her to stay safe. At 12 a.m., Sanghi arrives at the A-rank dungeon in her SUV for the patrol, while carrying the war axe on her shoulder, which she bought from Youngdo. She decides to make this quick and hurry back to learn more about the possible mole. She walks ahead to her destination and notices the purple air signifying mana, and on sniffing it, she gets perplexed and wonders why the mana is so thick around here. As soon as she notices a blast in the dungeon breaking, she grits her teeth in anger, realizing that she was set up here to come since they knew she was going to patrol this area, so they set off the break just in time. Sanghi quickly walkie-talkies to her team, informing them that this is Obongsan dungeon, and there has been a dungeon break, so she immediately needs backup. After she puts down the device, she sprints towards the dungeon with her axe, telling herself that she needs to try and stop that break first, even if it is a trap, because if she does not stop it now, the whole area will be flooded with monsters very soon. When he gets near the dungeon, wolf-like monsters start coming out of it, which she calls lycanthropes, and declares that this is going to get messy. She stops in and grabs the axe firmly, ready to fight back. She steadies herself and puts her in the stance, whereas the lycanthropes jump at her to attack. When one of the lycanthropes jumps at Sanghi while roaring, she dodges it and then hits her war axe straight on top of its head with a quick, forceful strike, resulting in its head being smashed and the lycanthrope instantly dying. While she kills this one, another lycanthrope attacks her from above. However, she successfully dodges this one and realizes that they are trying to attack her while she is busy battling one of their own. 3 of them surround Sanghi in a circle, so she firms her grip on the axe. As all 3 of them attack her simultaneously, she picks up the axe and swings it around, slicing their bodies in 2. However, they are not completely gone yet, as another one stands at a distance from her and growls. When she notices this one, she channels her anger once more and hits the axe on its head with so much force that its head slams into the ground. Now that she is done with these smaller ones, she hears a louder and heavier growl, and turning towards it, she remarks, looking at him, that here comes the main event, as he is the boss of the rest. He is quite taller compared to the rest, almost double their height. However, in terms of strength, he looks quite skinny. As he growls at Sanghi once again, she smirks while acknowledging that he is quite scrawny, and mocks him by questioning when those bones of his are going to grow some meat. The boss, unable to stand her words, quickly attacks her by swinging his claw at her. Sanghi jumps up in the air to protect herself, and when she lands on the ground, she rests one of her knees on the ground and puts the axe on her shoulder. She glares at the boss of the lycanthropes and asks if he knows what they say. Along with this question, she immediately gets up and strikes a blow at his jaw with her axe as she quotes, "You have to bash them once in a while to fix them." The boss of the lycanthropes growls in agony, and with a final hit to his brain, she kills him completely. The boss lies beside her with the axe pierced into his skull, while Sanghi pants tiredly, trying to hold herself up. She wipes the sweat off her face and declares that it was close when suddenly she hears the sound of a clap and a person calling her assassination, "Bravo!" Sanghi stands straight and looks up to find that she is surrounded by several men wearing armor and cloaks, which completely cover their bodies and heads, and in addition, they all wear masks to cover their faces. The one who clapped appreciates her, exclaiming, "Great job," and adding that no wonder people call her the guardian of the association. She looks around as they keep swarming in from behind the woods, so she grits her teeth in anger and grabs the axe firmly, saying that she should have known that the Karma Guild was behind this, and curses them. The man, however, laughs mockingly as he repeats the name of the guild and asks her who said they were Karma. He declares it a wrong answer and mockingly states, "Better luck next time." The man's eyes can be seen squinting through the holes in his mask as he informs them that they are just a small fringe group that got together to kill Seo Sanghi because they hate her so much. With that, the man quickly takes out a sharp dagger. Sanghi thinks it is too bad, but thinks that first she should buy some time before backup arrives. When suddenly, the man interrupts her thoughts by guessing that she is expecting backup and states that just so she knows, they are not coming. Sanghi is stunned at his words, while he dangles a walkie-talkie in front of her, which was supposed to be with someone on her team. The man tells her to see that they also have some friends in the association who want her dead. All of those men start laughing at her mockingly as the man taunts her that she should have known better than to go around trying to be some sort of superhero. And then another man asks while giggling if they are getting started or what. When the man states boastfully that she should have known her place as no one is going to help her now, he suddenly stops mid-sentence abruptly because the front of his body is pierced, and he groans in pain. The person who slashed his body is none other than Youngdo, who then confidently claims that he said anything about superheroes since you do not need to be one to save a friend. As the man falls to the ground, Youngdo slashes him again with his sword to make sure he is dead. When the other men look at Youngdo, they are shocked to see him there and ask him who he is. However, instead of answering them, he floats in the air with his sword and kills some men using the sword's exclusive skill. He lands directly by Sang-hee's side and asks her if she is alright, while she is equally shocked to see Young-do here, just like the other men are. Young-do thanks goodness that he made it in time while realizing that since it is past midnight, the mana he spent on draws has replenished. When Sang-hee asks him how he is here, he replies that what matters right now is that he is here to save her, and promises to tell her more about it after they make it out of this, so she agrees. Young-do then looks around to analyze the situation and reveals to her that he sees what is going on here since the break seems to have stopped. They should focus on getting out of here rather than waste their energy fighting these goons. When he says so, Sang-hee informs him that it will not be easy because these men range from C rank to A rank, and they are fixated on killing her. When Juga Huime of the Zhug family, who is summoned this time by Young-do, listens to what Sang-hee tells her, she gets scared and asks to confirm if all these people here are first to second-class warriors, and tries to run away, flapping her hand as she asks Young-do why they ever decided to come here. After being informed, Young-do looks at the men and realizes that things do not look good right now, and Sang-hee seems exhausted already, while he thinks that he drew whatever cards he could draw from the 10th rare or above draw of fate, and got Juga Huime, but he is not sure if he can take on this many people with her. Sang-hee apologizes to Young-do, saying that she does not know how he ended up here, but maybe it would have been better if, but before she can complete her sentence, he cuts her off and says that if there is one thing he wishes to hear from her right now, then it is thank you rather than I'm sorry, and that too after they get out of here. He assures her not to worry by telling her that he brought a secret weapon that could help them. The men start murmuring around, asking about Young-do, who he is, and if they did not block Sang-hee's radio to keep out any backup from the association, while another man suspects that there must be a spy among them, just like what the leaders said. Suddenly, another man enters from behind them, dressed the same as them all except for not having his hair covered, so his red hair can be seen. He orders the men to shut up and looks at the fallen men whom Young-do killed. The man, who looks like their head, claims that Young-do just killed 4 B-rank assassins, as if it was nothing. Therefore, he concludes that they have to consider Young-do as at least an S-rank user as they carry out their plan. All at once, all of the men start running around Young-do and Sang-hee to find the best moment to attack them, while Young-do alerts Sang-hee to get ready since they are coming. One of their men runs towards Young-do, and just as he prepares himself, he sees that the rest of the men have launched several arrows towards them. When Young-do notices this, his eyes widen in shock as he is puzzled by those men's actions since their own men are also within the range of the target and will probably get hurt. Despite the confusion, Young-do yells at Sang-hee to look out and covers her instantly, while most of the arrows hit their own man with the dagger, and he dies on the spot, falling to the ground as their leader watches. Jin Young-do stands firm, gripping his sword tightly as he looks at the fanatics before him. Seo Sang-hee is on the ground, breathing heavily, struggling to keep up with the fight. Jin stands there, finding those men crazy and asking them if they don't care about the safety of their partners. By hearing the word partner, they all burst into laughter, revealing that their sacrifice would be an honor as they stomp their leg on one of their men, adding that as long as it helps manifest his will in this world, they are sure he would gladly give his life for such a noble purpose. Jin Young-do tightens his grip on the sword as the urge of mana erupts from his sword, saying that this is exactly why he hates trying to reason with fanatics. As mana surges from the sword, slicing the fanatics that come in Jin's way, Jin guides Seo Sang-hee that he will lead the way and she should follow him. He is sure they could break through their formation if they keep attacking in this direction they are right now. A fanatic comes near Sang-hee to attack her, but before he could, Jin, with his extraordinary sword skills, attacks that person, but the person casts his spell on Jin. However, Sang-hee comes at the exact moment killing that guy. 2 fanatics come from behind to kill Jin, though he is unaware of it because his whole focus is on the guy Sang-hee is killing right now, but Zhug Huime warns Jin about those 2 guys behind him. Jin Young-do twists his body and rolls backward in the air, rising high over the heads of the 2 attackers. As he flips over those 2 attackers, he swings the sword, cutting them down before he even lands on the ground. Sang-hee is impressed, as he seems very light on his feet, so she asks him if he has been taking up gymnastics, and Jin informs her that he has been reading up on wuxia novels a lot lately. Suddenly they see an opening. They can finally break free, but before they can reach the opening, more fanatics appear, surrounding them from every side. One of them, the captain, asks them if Jin really thought he could get away from them by resorting to petty magic tricks. The captain threatens him that it is best that he gives up getting out of here alive. Zhug Huime informs Jin that he is the captain in charge here. Jin thinks if he has their head, then he is exactly what he should go for. He asks Seo to hold the fort as he is going straight for their leader. As he moves forward, the light step skill activates. He appears right in front of the captain, his sword aiming directly at him. The captain angrily questions his people about what they are staring at and says they should help him, as he is holding back. And this is their chance to kill him. Jin uses his skill, Flowing Cloud Steps, as those guys try attacking him to defend himself. And as soon as he defends himself, he uses another skill, Flowing Cloud Sword, to kill the captain. But the captain is more skillful than Jin thought, and defends himself with his weapon. The captain notices Jin being tired and much weaker than a while ago. He taunts Jin, asking how he is going to kill him in time and save Sang-hee when his arms are shaking like that. His attention shifts to Sang-hee, who is struggling right now, and one of the fanatics is going to kill her. So Jin ignores the captain by pushing him on the ground and runs towards Sang-hee, killing the fanatic who was about to kill Sang-hee. Jin then helps Sang-hee to stand up and apologizes to her as he couldn't take out their leader yet. Sang-hee assures that it is fine, taking the blame that she should have done a better job of stalling them to buy him some time. Meanwhile, Zhuge Huimei warns Jin that she is running out of time here and reminds him that he knows what he has to do. When Jin turns around, he notices a team of fanatics with the captain, all armed, ready to kill both of them. One of them asks his captain if he should just kill both of them right away, but the captain tells him that there is no rush, as they have all the time they need. He decides that whatever tricks Jin has up his sleeve, they will squeeze them out and break them one by one before destroying him once and for all. Jin smirks, knowing there is only one way out, and then he loads Liu Shan. As soon as he appears, he asks Jin if trouble came looking for him, or if it is the other way around. He teases Jin that every day is a nightmare with him. Jin smirks, and then requests that he remember to think up the strongest warrior that he knows of. Liu Shan is confused, but before he could ask the reason, Jin uses the combined draw skill, showing the targets are Zhang Fei and Liu Shan. A warrior that has ties with both Zhang Fei and Liu Shan would most likely be from the state of Shu. Also, he is trying to protect someone from the enemy that surrounds them, so in this condition, it has to be one person. While using the connection gotcha, Jin smirks, asking that warrior to come to him. Now Jin uses the confirmed gotcha skill. Though all the fanatics are in shock wondering what that is, as all of it looks dangerous. Them being frightened is evident on their faces. The captain orders his people to keep away and fire with everything that they have got. They all use their skills, and with the arrowhead, they fire the fireballs. Sang-hee knows she can't dodge all of these, so she will have to cover her vital points at the least. However, the arrows are blocked by Jin, making the fanatics stunned, as it is impossible to block this many arrows in one go. The system informs them that the king of all weapons has successfully restored an ancient weapon, Long Dan, and received a long-range attack boost to the user's stats. Jin Jungdo, who is at level 99, has summoned Ali Zhaoyun Zilong. Jin turns around and smirks, assuring he cannot touch him as Jin has got him covered. The skill Safeguard level 2 has activated, which has boosted up stats for battles fought to protect someone. The captain questions the fanatic on what they all are afraid of, as they outnumber them by far. The fanatics get motivated by this and run towards Jin, but Jin is already ready with his weapon, knowing that the best defense is offense. So before they could run towards him to attack him, he rushes towards them too, slicing the fanatics in half who came in the way. Zhao Yunzilong is guiding the weapon and has cast the spell in the air by the weapon, which is making the fanatic's body go out of control. They all are floating in the air, and suddenly a flash of light strikes from the sword. When the thick smoke clears the environment, most of the fanatics are on the ground, dead, while the ground is fully cracked. The captain and some other fanatics are scared to death, wondering how they will beat a monster like him as he is out of their league. The captain tells them to shut up because they have to follow the master's order, which is much more important than their petty lives. He casts the magic circle spell on Sang-hee, informing everyone their target is Sang-hee, and the master is watching them right now. Though, Jin comes in between, carrying Sang-hee on his shoulder, saying a sword would be best handed for single-handed combat. That is when he equips the Sword of Qingjiang, which makes chances small of ignoring the opponent's defense. As Jin runs while carrying Sang-hee, he kills everyone coming in his way with this sword. Although he realizes that these fanatics are not humans anymore, and that is for sure, Zhao Yunzilong shares his point of view that from what he has observed, they are strangely obsessed with attacking the woman, suggesting Jin throw the woman up in the air so that they are led away. Before throwing her in the air, Jin assures Sang-hee that it is going to be a little scary, but she has to trust him on this. Sang-hee has no idea what he is talking about as confusing expressions spread on her face, but in an instant, he throws her in the air, promising her to catch her. When the Fanati looks up in the sky to catch her, Jin's expression darkens as he is going to slit their throat just like that. Jin, as planned, killed every fanatic looking up. Zhao Yunzilong praises him for his good work and then guides Jin to stick to a position where Seo Sang-hee will fall. And when Jin catches her, Zhao Yunzilong takes leave and disappears. Jin asks Sang-hee if she feels okay as she is groaning and stretching herself. Sang-hee assures him she is fine, but she did not feel great. However, the system informs him that he has obtained rewards. Sang-hee stares at him with an annoyed expression as her body hurts, but Jin tells her to look at the bright side that they got rid of them all. Sang-hee then smiles, praising his skills that are simply beyond belief. In Jin's thoughts, he knows that it is obviously because they were not his skills. Although he informs Sang-hee that he kept the leader alive, he is just knocked out right now. He then questions her about Sung Dong-hak saying something about karma after they locked him up. Sang-hee takes a sigh and informs Jin that he was assassinated not too long ago. Jin is attuned, asking, "What happened?" Sang-hee explains that, taken from that and the fact that she was attacked today, she believes that one of the higher-ups is the mole. She expresses her worry, saying she can't solve this on her own no matter how hard she tries. Jin gets notified to save Seo Sang-hee, realizing the quest is not over yet. He requests Sang-hee to let him help, just like the last time when he figured out who Sung Dong-hak really was. He assures her that he has a great idea that could help them find out who this mole is. Later on at Sang-hee's office, she holds a meeting, gathering everyone. She announces she was on patrol when she was attacked by an unknown group of around 200 assailants. Zhang Chul-san, S-Rank exclusive examiner, stands up being freaked out, asking what kinds of lunatics would dare to do this. So Sang-hee elaborates that there was another artificial dungeon break, but she couldn't call for backup because the radio signals were likely jammed. She then points out that Jin Jungdo revealed that if it wasn't for the user on her left, she would have lost her life in that deadly trap. She informs them that he has accompanied her to this meeting as a witness. Jin Kasu interrupts, asking why they are there today to discuss this incident. So Sang-hee says that too, but there is also something more important. Her expression darkens as she confronts that today they are going to find out which one of them sitting there is the mole. The employers start murmuring among each other, wondering what Sang-hee is implying. They call this rubbish, asking how she is ever going to take responsibility for such nonsense. So Sang-hee assures them that she has a way to find out who the culprit is. She explains, if they could tend to the 3 requirements she has, she will show them who the more is right here, right now. If they feel like these requirements are unreasonable, they can decline at any time. The chairman knows that there is a reason for her confidence and asks Sang-hee to go on and tell them her requirements. First, she requests everyone to make a vow that everyone will keep silent about what is about to happen here. Jaina appears as Jin calls her while whispering, and she activates the skill, Pledge of Silence. When people in a certain space say the swear to keep a secret, they become physically unable to talk about it. Secondly, she requests that they agree that they will let them use the skill that they are about to perform. She assures them that this skill is not at all harmful to their mind or body, so they shouldn't be worried. The employers are scared, so they ask her if she can at least tell them about the skill, though Jang Kul-san angrily tells them to accept, as she has assured them it is not dangerous at all, because if Sang-hee is messing with them, she will give up her position in the association, and he will be right beside her when she does. Everyone agrees, as they are curious about the last requirement. All conditions for the skills have been met by Jaina. Now the skill Room of Truth has been cast. On the other hand, Sang-hee thanks everyone for having faith in her and agreeing to this. Now she reveals that her final requirement is very simple. She asks everyone to repeat after her, "I am not a spy." Everyone finds it silly and very simple, so one by one, they repeat the sentence. As it is Jisu's turn, he stays quiet so the employers ask him to go on as he is the only one left. Jaina opens his mouth, forces him to say it, and gets it over with once and for all. Though he is not keeping silent by his own will, he just lost his ability to speak. When the skill Room of Truth is activated, people in that room can only speak the truth. Sang-hee realizes Mr. Jan Jisu, head of intelligence, is the mole that was after him. Jisoo stutters and expresses his shock by saying that he never thought they would have such an incredible skill. Jang Chul-san is in shock as he never expected the head of intelligence would be the mole. Suddenly, Jisu's eyes turn red with rage, and he activates his weapon, pointing it towards Sang-hee to attack her, saying this is for the master. Before Jisu could attack Seo Sang-hee, Jang Chul-san came in between and smacked Jisu on the ground, asking him how he dared to attack his student. Meanwhile, the system informs Jin that the quest is completed. Jin settles on the chair, taking a sigh of relief. Though his mana ran out just when he needed to summon Jaina, and now he needs to wait till noon for his mana to be filled up. Had it not been for this ring that was borrowed from Ms. Seo, things might have gone out of control. This ring adds 2 points to his mana. Even the king of all weapons does not do that. Although he was able to summon Jaina because of this ring, so he thanks it. Sang-hee wanted Jin Jungdo to handle it with extreme care. His attention shifts to Jaina when she asks Jin if her work is done, so Jin thanks her, saying he can't believe she is only a gold rank hero when she has such an amazing skill. He thinks she should at least be a diamond. Jaina gives him a warm smile, thanking Jin for his good luck. Confusion spreads on Jin's face, so Jaina reveals even she can't control the Room of Truth once it's open. Just like how the girl did it for Jin, The Room of Truth can also be opened by people other than the summoner, and once it is open, someone can't close it whenever they please. This means they can't stop someone else from using it to their advantage. She then asks him if he knows how she died. When she activated her skill in her past life, the wench who she mistook for a friend called her a witch. After that, she was bound to set ablaze because she couldn't deny. Jin realizes that she should be more careful when using that skill from now on. In another environment, the cult leader is being informed of Seo Sang-hee surviving the ambush, and not only did she survive, but she also managed to take out every single one of them. The cult leader finds it impossible because how could she take out that many people after stopping the break by herself? That was enough people to kill her at her peak. Not to mention, after the dungeon break wore her out, they sent more than enough people, with the variable regarding her strength in mind. It would be more reasonable to assume that something unexpected has happened. The cult members talk about the accomplice that came to Seo Sang-hee's aid right after she stopped the dungeon break, and by accomplice, they mean only one. They couldn't confirm who it was because the person was far away, but apparently, said person was exceptional, with both a sword and a spear. Also, his combat skills were suddenly boosted after a few minutes into battle. The cult members are aware that there is only one person whose skills are well over S rank or higher, and has all those attributes combined, Kang Haejin. One of the cult members says that he thought Kang Haejin always acted alone, never actually belonging to any group. This operation was classified, so the information couldn't have been leaked. The other cult members find it unbelievable, wondering if he just happened to be hiking at the Obongsan at the right time or something. The cult leader does not find this a coincidence, as he thought the law of causation was in his favor. His face turns crimson red, saying he will not tolerate anyone who dares to doubt his will. One of the female members tells everyone to forget what has happened, as she is more curious to find out how Seo Sang-hee is going to take care of this incident, and asks if there is any possibility that the one who was captured ratted them out. The cult leader says that the mark of the blood soldiers has been activated, which means he lost his mind completely. They wouldn't have gotten anything useful for him, and revealing the mark to them is a failure in itself, but since the operation failed, it is impossible to keep everything hidden now. The cult member informs them he heard Seo Sang-hee has gathered the executives of the association in a meeting, and his information also happened to be in that meeting. They should wait and see what happens. The cult leader is disturbed as they lost their ambush team because of an unexpected SS-Rank enemy, not to mention failing to kill Seo Sang-hee. However, the association is going to be more cautious of them from now on. This really is the worst that could ever happen. One of the cult members then asks for Won, as he does not see him anywhere. Some other member informs him that he is preparing something to make up for last time. That is why he is not present at today's meeting. One at another place has found out with his sources about the accomplice that came to Seo Sang-hee's aid right after she stopped the dungeon break, Jin Jung-do. One's aim is to make him pay for this with his life. Meanwhile, the chairman of the Sang-hee's firm sits with Jin at his office, confronting him. He knows that the Room of Truth was his skill and not Sang-hee's. Jin knew someone would notice. As it is well known, a user's skill is highly influenced by their talents. It is not that difficult to notice that a skill like the Room of Truth does not suit an axe-wielding warrior like Seo Sang-hee. The chairman says that nevertheless, his skill kept Sang-hee safe and helped them find the Mole Association. So he bows down, sincerely thanking Jin on behalf of the association, asking how he should repay him. Jin embarrassingly assures him it is fine. Instantly, he notices the ring on his finger, so Jin quickly apologizes, revealing that he had to borrow it because he did not have enough mana and forgot to return it. Though the chairman smiles and tells him to keep it on. He further says that he does not know if it will suffice, but he would like him to keep that ring as a token of their gratitude. Jin gets extremely happy as he would love to keep it to himself, but he asks him if he is sure about it, so the chairman assures him, saying it is trivial compared to what the association owes him. He stretches out his hand to shake hands with Jin, wishing him well. He looks forward to a brighter future for both him and the association. Jin feels honored and is grateful, as he did not expect things to turn out like this at all. Although he hasn't even opened the main prize for the quest yet, he wonders what the universe's reward will be. Jin arrives at his apartment, and Winry Makina welcomes him, informing him that she was waiting for him. Jin is surprised and asks why she has arrived so early this time. As he thought, it had only been a little over a day since they last met. Winry agrees with him. However, she reveals that she is there to tell the truth. It's not a good thing for him to be seeing her so often. Jin freaks out, thinking that he has done something wrong, but Winry assures him that it is nothing like that. She is just pointing out that her being here comes at the expense of universal energy. She elaborates that she had to intervene at Mr. Kang's house since it was very urgent, but the real universe, by default, must remain as an observer. In other words, she normally should be very hard to come across. Jin teases her, saying she seems to appear quite often in front of him. Winry explains that his case is not that normal. Uncommon things happen to him so often, including today. Jin realizes that this threat info has a bigger meaning to the universe than he thought. He wonders if she would tell him if he asked her. Without hesitation, he questions Winry about the real universe, asking her to solve threats even when it comes at a price. Winry bows down, apologizing and confessing that the information cannot be disclosed to him at the moment. He will have to raise his class more in order for her to answer that properly. Jin does not understand what she means by class. Winry continues, saying that she could bet her existence that the universe does not intend to harm him. Jin laughs nervously, saying that now he must have to be more classy. Although he is curious how he raises his class, Winry informs him that there are many ways, but for him, she recommends leveling up. Having a certain level of combat skills is definitely a plus to the class of his existence, so basically, he will just have to level up steadily like he has been doing. Jin then questions her about the price for this quest, and whether she could take his preference into consideration like last time, because he would like to avoid skills that come at a cost, like purchase. The purchase system is capable of increasing his mana in the long run, but it is unsettling to know that he has to sacrifice other stats in order to do so. He tells Winry not to get him wrong. Using purchase to get a rare rank or above draw when he needs it is as useful as it gets. That was how he managed to summon Zhuge Huime without spending any mana. Long story short, he would like the reward this time to be one without penalties. Winry gives him a warm smile, assuring him that she will take that into consideration when rewarding him. But first, she asks if she can tell him about what she wants to reward him with, because she is quite sure he will like it. Jin gets excited about a reward recommended by her. She reveals that her reward for him this time is the double summon skill. Jin is stunned, as it is a skill where anyone can summon 2 heroes at the same time when using the Draw of Fate. Jin's jaw drops, excited about the fact that then he could rock Lu Bu's double crescent halberd in one hand, while swinging Zhang Fei's 8-foot snake spear in the other. But then he suddenly pauses because even if he summons 2 heroes, he only has 1 body. He questions her about whose stats he will get. Although it would be best if he could get both of their stats, he doubts the system would be so gracious. Meanwhile, Winry reveals that the highest combination of stats will be applied, but that is not all. He will be getting all the talents from both heroes. For example, if a hero has level 2 sword mastery and level 1 spear mastery, while another hero has level 2 bow mastery and level 1 spear mastery, what he'd get would be level 2 sword mastery, level 2 bow mastery, and level 1 spear mastery. The same goes for skills as well. Jin's eyes widen as he realizes that it means if the talents or skills don't double up, he will get everything that the heroes have to offer regardless of the number of skills, and given how having a skill or talent boosts his abilities, this skill is priceless. It is also possible to use Young Yakyan's invention or craft on top of the strong luck of Liu Shan, which would allow him to create one exquisite item after another. Jin does not believe that Winry Machina is willing to give him these extraordinarily awesome skills. Winry agrees but informs Jin that he may not be able to use it as often as he'd like. The double summon is an active skill that constantly consumes mana. So firstly, he loads a hero and activates double summon. Then he summons or draws another hero. Although double summon will only last as long as he can maintain this state, that means he will be spending mana in 3 ways: initial summon, double summon, and secondary summon. But the question arises if the current mana will be enough for that. Winry says that such rules exist to keep the whole system in balance. In contrast, Jin does not understand the reason behind these many restrictions. After all, these are rewards, so why not go all out and let him have some fun? Winry calmly explains to him that his rewards concern the universal energy and the principle of causality, so he needs to understand that it is the best offer that she can give him. She then asks him if he would like to take this reward. Jin, in his heart, knows he can't deny such a great skill just because it takes up a lot of mana, so he accepts the reward. Winry happily casts a magical glowing ball and directs it toward his heart. Jin collapses on the ground, trembling as the intensity of the skill being unlocked is overwhelming. Winry ignores his reaction and assures him that the real universe will support him as best as it can. Haijun and Jungdo play a video game together, after which Jungdo appreciates Haijun, asking if he was lying about barely playing them. Jungdo then points to a portal-looking gate and asks about it. Haijun replies that his friend put it there, and it's getting on his nerves. Suddenly its lights turn on and electricity runs through it, which scares Jungdo. However, a girl comes out of it. When she steps out, she greets Haijun, saying that she has come to meet him and calls herself a guest of his, while Jungdo looks at her confusedly, wondering who she is. Haijun yells at her that he has told her to let him know before she comes over, but she covers her ear, saying that she installed this warp gate to come and go freely. She then notices Jungdo and asks Haijun about who he is, so he introduces Youngdo to her and tells her that he is a big fan of Youngdo, which flatters Youngdo. He then introduces the girl to Youngdo as Ellie McDowell, an SS-Rank user from the States and the founder of the Awaker, Mana Virtual, and the DCS system. This shocks Youngdo. When Youngdo draws his hand forward to greet her, she spots his armlet and immediately recognizes it. He gets even more surprised and tries observing her skills, which, after many security methods, he finally manages to see. He discovers that she has 17 talents. After seeing Youngdo's expression, Haejun tells him not to be scared of her and explains that she can analyze the structure and material of every item except for 2 from treasure dungeons: the Green Dragon Crescent Blade and Excalibur, and now this armlet. They then ask Youngdo for a favor, as they collect information about the anomalies on Earth from those who clear the treasure dungeons. However, all of them are under some geas, so they can't tell completely. It is found that someone from Earth has asked other worlds to erase humans from Earth. Youngdo gets worked up and accuses the leader from the Karma Guild, but Haejun refuses and explains that the dungeons that are appearing only have scouts from other worlds, and it's reported that the monsters have gotten more intelligent. He adds that he's sure they will continue to get more intelligent with every wave, and at one point, humanoid ones will come forth, different from the ones in treasure dungeons. Youngdo then asks why they're telling this to him. They demand his help since treasures from the treasure dungeons are only given to exceptionally talented individuals who might achieve higher than SS rank. When he asks what kind of help they need, Haejun asks him to keep improving until they need his help at the time of humanoid creatures. Ellie then tells Youngdo to ask her for help if ever needed. The humanoid creature looks at Earth and threatens them to wait, while Makina notices them and realizes that humans are running out of time. Youngdo, Seoyun, and Haesik fight against a dungeon boss and clear the dungeon in 3 hours. However, Youngdo gets hit by the boss, so he decides to go shopping with them. The Mana department store looks impressive, and they all fascinatingly look around. When Seoyun leaves to look around, Haesik asks Youngdo about checking out some armor, to which he agrees. But suddenly they hear someone shouting. A man was yelling in shock, calling something a scam, saying that he heard someone struck gold here yesterday. Ignoring him, Haesik asks Youngdo if he is interested in a lotto room where unevaluated items are sold for a very low price, a mix of crap and rare items. However, Youngdo abruptly refuses, saying that he knows what gambling does to people. He suddenly realizes that he has the observation skill, so using it, he could find the good items hidden among the bad ones. He decides to go there to have a look around, whereas Haesik goes to check out some armors. Youngdo enters the lotto room, and the cashier announces to bring the items to the cashier that he wants to buy. He realizes that it won't be easy to find something good, but suddenly comes across a gator. However, on observation, it turns out to be crap. Youngdo then realizes he can't waste his mana on everything when suddenly he hears someone calling him out. He walks through the aisles to find the source, and when he finally reaches a shelf with jewels, the voice shouts that it is the ring. Youngdo leans in and the ring asks if he could hear it, so Youngdo confirms that he heard it and asks to be taken out of there. The ring trembles, and a fairy jumps out of it in happiness, greeting him by calling him Great One and introducing herself as Ixia, one of the 13 items that have been handcrafted by Ixia the Gold Dragon. Youngdo realizes that it's an ego item, and it's all thanks to his level 3 communication skill that he might be the first to find this. Youngdo asks what she means by the Great One, so she answers that she meant his kind, the dragon, and starts sobbing emotionally, saying that she is finally going to get out of here. He apologizes to her for being a human and not a dragon, so she starts crying sadly, saying she won't get out. He then asks her if only dragons can take her, to which she refuses, explaining that he only needs to talk to her and put her on, but her powers are sealed behind a spell, incomprehensible to humans. She says that if the seal is broken, the ring will return to its original form. He promises to break the seal, so she thanks him, asking him if he's looking for a certain item and guides him through those. Youngdo takes the items to the cashier and asks Ixia if she can evaluate items, but she refuses, saying, however, that she has a good intuition that he can trust. Youngdo wonders if there is something he should look out for when breaking the seal. Just then, he gets to know about the newly generated dungeon that is in the middle of the city. He rushes toward the dungeon with Ixia. Sanghi and Haesik put on their equipment and are ready to fight. Seeing Youngdo, Haesik mentions if he is the only leader he knows who picks out items for his teammate. Later, Youngdo sees them off. After a while, he finds a dungeon that looks like it is beckoning him to come in, but he realizes that he is low on mana, so he decides to check. However, it shows his increased mana. If he adds up the stats, he will be as powerful as an A-rank user, which is enough to take out a B-rank dungeon. He decides to break Ixia's seal before he enters the dungeon. Ixia informs him that he has to be at least an archmage to break her seal. There are multiple seals, and by using observation, he unlocks 2 seals in a row, which is quite impressive. He unlocks his growth skill, which seems crazy to him because it's even better than the cobalt glove and all the rings he got from the association combined. And since there's an experience point bar, it should become even better as it levels up. Ixia informs him that this talent doesn't apply to him. It's hers. According to Youngdo, having a hunch for a talent should mean that he has a good hunch, to which Ixia agrees. She also used her hunch when she picked out those items for him from that pile of junk. Youngdo should have looked at those items as well. Later, they go to check out the items, which don't seem special to him, but Ixia reassures him that she is confident in her hunch. He checks their attributes, which were quite disappointing to him. He couldn't believe that they only cost 5 million won. Ixia feels sorry that her hunches aren't always right, but Youngdo reassures her that he has a bunch of great stuff already. Deep down, he knows that hunches can't always be right. Just like how Liu Shan's luck does not work all the time. He is sure she will get much more accurate once that progress bar is filled up. After a while, when they are about to get into the dungeon, Ixia warns him that he must be careful, to which he agrees. As soon as he steps into the dungeon, a goblin attacks him, which he slaughters right away. He realizes that Ixia was right about him being careful. Just then, a bunch of goblins appears, and he decides to use some of the skills he learned this time. He casts his Tiger Strike move on them and clears them all in an instant. Youngdo loves how powerful that move was. Ixia comments, "What a waste," and asks Youngdo if she can eat the leftovers on the ground over there. Ixia digs in and eats all of them. She cries because she finds the taste so good. Youngdo finds it impressive how she eats them, and then he decides to check the X bar to see if it has changed anything. The XP increases, not much but a bit. Ixia mentions that once her XP bar is full, the third seal will be broken, and she will be able to help him out even more efficiently after that. Youngdo adds that if that's the case, he will get her all the corpses if she wants to eat, which makes Ixia excited. Later, Youngdo hunts more of those goblins and cuts them into small pieces so that it's easier for Ixia to eat. They have a long way to go, so Youngdo suggests making sure she chews thoroughly when she eats them. There are more of them. Youngdo uses his Lion's Roar skill and uses Green Dragon Steps and Dragon Tiger Strike to finish them off. Combining skills like that makes them more powerful. As they reach the boss room, Ixia wonders how tasty the boss will be. Suddenly, Liu Shan appears out of nowhere, greeting Youngdo, which startles Ixia. She shouts and claims him as a ghost. Liu Shan apologizes that he startled her. Then he introduces himself to her as the Emperor of Shu Han, while Youngdo is displeased with his introduction, referring to him as a ruler who led his country to ruin in 2 generations. When Ixia learns about him, she gets excited and wonders if that means he is even higher than a king. She wonders where Shu Han is located, at which Youngdo grins. Liu Shan gets nervous and hesitantly turns to Youngdo, snapping at him. Let's get to doing his drawings, for which he calls him out. Ixia gets excited hearing about the drawing game that she is good at. Youngdo asks Ixia that he is going to start drawing now, so just let him know when she gets that hunch of hers. As he clicks on the Draw of Fate, a golden card appears on the first try. Ixia shouts in pride that her hunch is accurate, while Liu Shan claims that it could be because of his strong luck as well. Jin Youngdo's summoned ally is Tristan, level 80. Now he is ready to go. Tristan dedicates his life to his victory. Ixia likes this one much better than Liu Shan because he is so gentle. Youngdo slams the door of the room and strikes the arrow toward the boss. It hits the boss in just one shot, which makes him level up in seconds. He was sure because he summoned a hero more powerful than necessary for a B-rank dungeon, but he wonders how the monster died with one blow. Later, Youngdo steps out of the dungeon and gets a call from Seo Yoon. He picks up the call and yells her name in shock.